All right, let's call the meeting to order at 6:16 p.m. Welcome, everybody. Thank you everyone for coming to today's Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council meeting. My name is Gabriel Callan. I am the president of the council. I have a few announcements to make. This meeting is being recorded and the recording will be available on our PRNC YouTube page as well as our prnc.org webpage. All meeting attendees will be automatically muted when they join the meeting. Attendees may address the board in one of two situations: comment on an agenda item or provide general public comment. After each agenda item is read out loud and before a board vote is taken on that item, if any, I'll ask if any member of the public wishes to address the board regarding the agenda item being considered. At that time, the meeting attendees can electronically raise their hand to speak by pressing *9 if they're using a telephone for audio, or clicking the raise your hand button on Zoom. That'll prompt the president or presiding officer that you wish to speak. I'll go down the list of those who raise their hand, turn on their audio one at a time, ask him or her to go ahead and provide public comment within a specific time period. When the speaker's time expires, I'll let the speaker know that their time has expired. Thank them for their comment, turn off the audio for that speaker. This process will continue until all attendees who raised their hand spoke. At that time, the board will discuss the motion and take a vote if they choose so. As noted in the meeting agenda, there is an item dedicated to public comment on items not on the agenda, but within the purview of the board. When the item comes up during the course of the meeting, I'll ask if any member of the public wishes to address the board regarding any issues that is not on the agenda, but is within the domain of the board's actions and capabilities. At that time, the meeting attendees can electronically raise their hand to speak using the same procedures described previously. Please note that under Brown's Act, the board is prevented from discussing or acting on a matter that is brought to its attention during a general public comment period. However, the issues raised by a member of the public may become a subject of a future board meeting. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes per speaker unless adjusted by presiding officer at his or her discretion. All right, item number 3 is roll call, and today it's Becky.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Is somebody, do we have a secretary? Who's taking the minutes? Is she here?
We do have a note taker, and I will bring her in right now.
Okay. Do you want me to begin without her, or?
Let me bring her in real quick.
Yeah, because we have to record the roll.
There you go. She's in.
Awesome. Okay, welcome. All righty, roll call for Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. David Lasher.
Here.
Okay, David Balin.
Present.
Hilda Sarkisian.
Here.
Jason Hector.
Here.
Luis Ramirez. No. Becky Levesque. Yes. Brandy Grace.
Yep.
Jennifer.
Here.
Okay. Boss Singh.
Here.
Christine Demerzian.
Here.
And Gabriel Conley.
I am here. Thank you.
Yay. Okay. We have a full house. We have
Thank you.
quorum.
Awesome. Thank you, Becky. Let's move on. Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody can stand up. And let's begin. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
of the United States of
America,
and to the republic
to the republic
for which it
for
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty,
liberty,
and
and
justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Next item is president's comments and updates. I don't have too many updates or comments to make today, other than I got word that the ET Park renaming is headed to the Recs and Parks Commission for final approval to move the name from Porter Ridge Park to ET Park. And the second update I got is that the Recs and Parks has approved the final plans for the 50-acre park, and they're in full construction zone or full construction mode right now. Those are the only 2 updates I have at the moment. Let's move on to item number 6, which is elected officials and city departments. Please raise your hand.
Gabriel,
Yes.
can you put the agenda on the share screen?
I could do that.
Or you want me to help you with that?
Jesse, this meeting should, hold on.
Who's talking?
You want me
Hey,
to
Gabriel, I'm
share?
on my
Oh,
regular computer now.
okay, you want me to?
Yeah,
share-
so we can
Okay,
follow along. Otherwise I have to, we have to keep going back and forth to, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Or if you give me capabilities, I'll do it.
1 second. Go for it. You have capabilities now.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. Thank
No
you.
worries. You got it?
I'm getting the agenda.
Okay, let me bring in Colin real quick. Colin Cruz, the floor is yours when you're ready.
Hey, everybody. Good evening.
How you
Colin
doing?
Cruz here with Council. I'm well, sir. With Councilmember John Lee's office. I've got a few things for you guys tonight. First of all, we're having another conversations with council, and all of the board members are invited, and I hope you can attend. That is coming up on the 25th of this month, which is a Wednesday. It's 6 p.m. to 7:30. The subject is going to be the new budget for 2022 to 2023. We're going to have a member of the CAO's office there to answer any questions. And we're going to have it in person for the first time in a very long time. So that's going to be at the Powell Center in Northridge. And again, I hope you can all make it. I believe you probably got an email from me today. I hope. If you didn't, let me know. So there's that. Also, we have a document shredding event coming up on Saturday, the 21st. That's going to be at our district office in Chatsworth from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Assuming the truck doesn't become full before 12. That's always a danger. If it fills up, then that's it. These are always very popular events. Folks are typically lined up around the corner waiting to get in. It is a 3-box maximum per car. So I hope that some of you have some documents you want to dispose of safely, and we will be there to do that. And then last but not least, next month on June the 11th, we're having a summer job fair, also at our district office in Chatsworth. That's going to be from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. We've partnered with Build Work Source. So we're going to have some employers out there and probably about 30 different, hopefully up to 30 different employers taking resumes and talking to folks, and hopefully if anybody's looking for any employment, we can help. The only other thing I had was about the 50-acre park, but Gabriel, I think you updated the board on that, and that's pretty much what I've got for you guys tonight, other than of course the Trebek Center in Northridge is the ribbon cutting is tomorrow, and they will be accepting clients on Tuesday of next week. So we're very excited about those 107 beds coming online to help the unhoused in our communities.
Thank you, Colin. Any board members have any questions for him? No, I do see Patty with her hand up. Patty, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I know I've mentioned this at previous PRNC meetings and also the Northridge West one to the CD12 reps, but there's an important bill in the California Senate right now, SB 1486, which is the bill designed to close down Aliso. I've asked for city council support for it. The PRNC is probably on the list of more than about 90 or more organizations supporting this. And it sure would be nice to have the city council listed too. And I know that I did a little research, and in 2017, when SB 57 was going to be voted on, not just the city council was listed, but Mitchell Englander was listed too as a supporter. So again, we need the support because this facility has been harming so many people in CD12. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. And I
Patty.
have brought that up. Our ledge team is aware of it. And I mean, the council member has previously called for the closure of the facility, but I will bring it up with the legislative team again.
Thank you. But again, this resolution is the bill that will close it down.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I got David Lasher. You have your hand up?
Hey, good morning, good evening. Hey, Colin. Easy question for you. I think it was Blumenthal, but another neighboring council member had funded some extra street racing enforcement, and there were 39 arrests with like 25 cars towed in the last week. They did enforcement operations like 10 locations and made a pile of arrests. It seems like that's only going to happen if we have like overtime money or special money like that. Is that something Councilmember Lee would be looking? Because we definitely, I know it's whack-a-mole. They'll leave where they were stopped last month and come over here, but we have, my windows rattle almost every night. And sometimes it's 1, 2 o'clock in the morning with modified exhausts and everything else. It'd be great to have that extra detail up here.
I mean, that is something that we have funded, and I believe there's still funding there. I mean, that's something that we've consistently done. Again, I'm not 100% sure if the last round of funds has been exhausted. This is a conversation that I just had recently with some of our ledge team. So yes, I mean, the short answer is we've always paid for overtime, whether it be Devonshire Division or Street Racing Task Force. So, we've always done it. I would assume there's no reason to believe that we wouldn't continue to do that. Obviously, we're big supporters of law enforcement.
Certainly much needed up here. And with all those arrests down the West Hills, those guys will move around the valley where they think there's going to be less enforcement. So, but I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Khan? With no further questions, thank you, Colin. You're hanging out, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I'll be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Let's go to Mr. Garrett. 1 second, the floor will be yours. There you go. Garrett?
Sorry about that. I was muted.
No worries.
Thanks for having me, everyone. I really appreciate it. Just want to give a quick update here from Congressman Garcia's office with regard to what's going on a little bit legislatively, as well as a little bit in the district. Following on last month's meeting with the Congressman traveling to Poland, since then, Republican leader Kevin McCarthy has appointed the Congressman to serve on the bicameral conference committee to negotiate legislation to combat China and increase American competitiveness. A few of the notable bills that have been voted on, the Congressman was a yes vote on Bill 3522. That was the Ukraine Democracy Lend-Lease Act. And that's a bill that would provide critical support to Ukraine in their war with Russia. And then he was also a yes vote on Bill 7691, and that was additional support for Ukraine, the Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2022. A couple introduced acts. There's the No Timber for Tyrants Act, which would put a ban on imports of wood products from Russia and Belarus and direct the U.S. Forest Service and Department of the Interior to harvest more timber from federal lands to compensate for the banned imports. And then there's also Bill 7241, and this bill would reauthorize funding for the mental health block grant program that's administered by the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. And then there's also a co-sponsored bill. The Congressman co-sponsored Joint Resolution 9, and that was a bill that would impose term limits on elected representatives. The maximum would be 4 terms in the House and 2 terms in the Senate. And then on top of that, the Congressman also signed a letter to Governor Gavin Newsom urging him to suspend the gas tax in California to reduce prices at the pump, as we have seen those prices climbing, as I'm sure everyone has seen. And then a little bit in the district here, we've got the Taxpayers Problem Solving Day coming up. Tentatively, that's scheduled for Saturday, June 18th, where we'll be bringing reps from the Taxpayers Advocates and IRS to address any issues that someone might have. All that is required for people to register for this is just to reach out to our office to make an appointment for that. The Congressman is also focused on hosting some roundtables and town halls. Those are still tentatively being set up. So more information will be to follow on that. And then the Congressman will also be setting up some outreach for some mobile office hours, and we're working out a location time for those as well. So anyway, so thank you guys so much for having me. I just wanted to keep it brief and give a few updates today. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any board questions?
There is one in the question, one anonymous attendee has a question.
I see it. I'll read it out loud in a second. Just want to get everybody else real quick. All right, we have an anonymous attendee that put a question in saying, has Congressman Garcia taken a stance on Roe versus Wade yet?
As dealing with that, as far as the congressman's stance goes, I have not received anything from the congressman at this time, but I will definitely see if there are any updates to that for next month's meeting, and I'd be happy to bring an answer to that, provided I receive one on that, but I will definitely ask.
Thank you.
Of course.
Any other public comments? No further comments. Thank you very much, Gary, for coming.
Thank you very much for having me, everyone.
all the
Really
updates.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Are you sticking around or you're?
Yes, I'll be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
Let's move on to Tessa. Let me bring you in. Tessa, the floor is yours when you're ready.
All right. Oops, let me lower that a little bit. Hi there. So I am Tessa Charnovsky. I work for Supervisor Sheila Kuehl as her district director in an office that covers your town. And I wanted to give you an update on something that is not in your area, actually two things that are not in your area, but I think they're very interesting and you'll find them interesting. One of them is the 818 Hotel, which is located in Woodland Hills. You may have heard that there had been an application by the county and Hope of the Valley, which does homeless services. And, we were waiting to hear whether the application was successful. We just found out yesterday that it was. So this site will house 100 families, that is parents with children. They must have children. And it's going to probably begin seeing an influx of folks by the end of the year, but the renovations have to be complete within a year. So this is actually, it's really good news in terms of getting people off the streets and getting them housed with supportive services. It's a interim supportive housing, and you have to have security on site and all kinds of, services available, mental health. And we are going to be in the process of talking extensively with community. We know there'll be a lot of concerns and questions. And this is just, I have a colleague who's out in the Woodland Hills Neighborhood Council today talking with them. So this will be an ongoing process. But, we're really, really pleased with this outcome. The other thing is you may have heard, I know that Porter Ranch is very focused on Aliso Canyon, but another very large concern is the Santa Susana Field Lab. And that's now in Supervisor Kuehl's District 2. So you may have heard that the Department of Toxic Substances Control has been in discussion or negotiation with Boeing, the Boeing Corporation. An agreement between the two was just released yesterday and on the cleanup. And my boss, Sheila Kuehl, has been consistently very focused on a full cleanup to background. So and then just last month, she authored a motion to ensure that cleanup is rigorous and with no diminishment of standards. So we're going to have to look at the agreement that came out and see, if we're going to push back and pursue other routes, such as legal routes, to make sure that it is thoroughly cleaned up to protect residents and not only right there, but throughout, the region. The only other thing I wanted to mention, I don't think I talked about this last time, is that the LA County Youth Commission, in partnership with the Department of Mental Health, has created a survey for young people ages 12 to 26, which must be turned in by May 31st. And this will help the Youth Commission with their mental health report back to the Board of Supervisors. I have a flyer. If you have young people in your family, we would love to hear from them. So I will send, I guess, Gabriel, I'll send the flyer to you, and you can hopefully get that out to others so that young people can participate in this flyer, in this survey. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Quick question for you. The Santa Susana cleanup, is this the same one NASA did a demonstration about 4 years ago with the different options they had with cleanup, or is this a completely different project?
So NASA and Department of Energy and Boeing all own portions of the Santa Susana Field Lab.
Okay.
And they're all supposed to clean it up to background to a very strict level. The agreement that just came out yesterday is just between Cal EPA, Department of Toxic Substances Control, and Boeing.
Okay. And are all three the entities supposed to follow the same guidelines, or they can do what they want per their location or property?
You know, that is a very good question. And my understanding is that the agreement yesterday is just for Boeing, and that the other entities also are supposed to follow agreements from 2007 and 2010. It's not clear whether they will. It's been an ongoing saga, as you know. And unfortunately, what was just released yesterday just may not cut it. So I'm sure you've seen it in the news, or you will shortly.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
There's a few comments or questions for you, Becky. Floor is yours. You're muted, Becky.
About that. I have 3 questions, and I'll just give them to you right up front, and then you can answer them. First of all, on the cleanup that you're speaking about, how are they going to clean it up? Are they going to take the topsoil out and remove it by truck to another location? Are they going to cover it up? That's my question. The other thing, number 2, the location of the 818 facility.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 3, on Roscoe and DeSoto, the northeast corner. I believe that's in your area. It used to be housing for low-income people. Is it? I drove by there today. It's a beautiful complex. Is it still used for low-income families? Do you know?
On that would be a city question. So Colin, we'd have to pull him back up to ask Colin.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but I live not that far. Well, I kind of live far. I'm close to Roscoe in Valley Circle, but I'm going to check it out next time I go past. But that would be a Colin question. On the cleanup, we don't know. I mean, I actually asked that very question, and they had a meeting with staffers of elected officials and elected officials. And I asked and others asked, how will the items be moved? You know, they're saying down Woolsey Canyon, but I don't know that will work, that will fly, because that's very disruptive. And, you know, again, this is their offering, this is what they're saying, but there needs to be some pushback and potentially legal action. So we'll see. I don't know. Also, there's going to be a program environmental impact report that's supposed to be released in around September that will provide more details about all of this.
And then the last question is the location of the 818.
Yeah, so that's on, it's on Ventura, right across from Taft High School. I don't know the cross street.
Oh, okay. Winnetka.
Okay.
Ventura, Winnetka. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Colin, would you like to answer that other question Becky had?
I would like to, but I don't know the answer. So Becky, so Becky, I'll have to look into it. I mean, Roscoe and DeSoto, it kind of, I'm not familiar with the particular project, but
so huge complex, apartment complex.
Is it on the north side of the street or the south side?
It's on the northeast corner.
Okay, so
in that area there, and it used to be all low-income housing.
Yeah, that's right on the boundary. But that sounds like it would be us. I'll have to check, Becky. I can get back to you. Okay.
Hey, Colin, can you stay on? Because I have a question for you too, or like when they finish.
Sure.
All right.
Go ahead. I'll come back.
Sure. David Lasher, floor is yours.
Hi, good evening, Tessa. I'm a little concerned about the Boeing agreement, especially with respect to everything going on in Santa Susana. That was, the new agreement is lesser than the original agreement they signed in 2007. I don't know how that boggles my mind. You have one agreement that does X, Y, and Z, and then you have a new one that's lesser enforcement or lesser terms. It's pretty bad. Very few people know that that site was the first meltdown in the U.S. military history. Yes, not military, but it was military related, but it's the first like meltdown, 3 Mile Island, Chernobyl. The first one was in that area.
Right.
And although Woodland Hills gets most of the grief from that property with the prevailing winds and fires and radioactivity transmitted that way, we're still clearly in the same sphere of influence. And anything to get them working on that would be great.
Yeah. Well, if you were to believe what they're saying, it's actually more rigorous. The cleanup will be more rigorous. But what is sort of, if you dig in more deeply, it could be the standards for cleanup have changed. So what was at one level a cleanup now is different. The standards have shifted. So you end up cleaning up to background, for example, but that's less than it would have been previously. So it just depends on your interpretation. But again, I just wanted to give you an update. I am not, obviously, I think it would be important to have Department of Toxic Substances Control provide their input and then, have both sides present their arguments.
Appreciate that. I'm going to guess there are a few hundred lawyers involved. So.
Oh, probably.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Tessa. I got 2 more comments from the board and then 1 from the attendees. Jason, you want to ask your questions now?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to ask a question for Colin, if it's okay. If he's still
Go
there.
ahead, and then we'll go to Brandy with Tessa.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going out of order. Oh, hey, Colin, I was so excited to see that you're working on the deodar trees and the white oak there. Can you just give a quick update of what's going on? I guess like some of the homeowners maybe need to rip out the bushes there. I think I was watching the video. And they're trying to water the trees, and I guess, were you trimming the trees? Do you know what went on over there?
Yeah, so, obviously those are monument trees. So they're going, they're being trimmed over the next few weekends, and then there is going to be a deep watering program to go forward for at least the next year, probably beyond that, honestly. Urban Forestry is assessing if there's any obstructions that could possibly damage the trees long term, whether that be pavers going up too close to the tree or ivy climbing too high up the trees, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So Urban Forestry is they're doing basically door-to-door outreach on those particular issues as they find them. So yeah, it's a pretty big project.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, congratulations. I commend you guys. Thank you.
It's been something we've been working on for a long time, and we're very excited to see it start moving forward. Yeah.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Jason. Thank you, Colin. Let's go to Brandy.
Thank
Floor is
you.
yours.
Hi, Tessa.
Hi, Randy.
I'm sorry if this might put you a little on the spot. So because this body has voted previously to support asking the county supervisors board to request the subpoena for the Aliso Canyon chemicals, and to CAG, the supervisor turned us down, but at least gave us a reason for it. And I was wondering if you would mind rehashing that here with this body, because they've also voted on that before. Do you remember?
Yeah. I mean, the challenge is that if we were to subpoena, it may affect the settlement terms, I think, and then ultimately that might disrupt, the entire agreement and funding that's already been disseminated. I think that's part of the thinking. But I think our office also understood that you all, the CAG, would be able to subpoena. And then what we heard in the meeting that we had with you all was that, in fact, it had to be the Department of Public Health. So that I think needs to be determined ultimately, because I think we believe that you all can on your own subpoena these documents.
Thank you. I mean, I think the settlement being at risk was a piece that hadn't been explicitly brought up prior to our conversations with you. And I thought that was something that the community at large for Porter Ranch should be aware of, what the position was of the legal team. So I appreciate you
Well, I'm
rehashing
sure
it.
they have much more complex arguments that I am not aware of and not familiar with.
Right. Like I said, I know it's putting you a little on the spot, and I apologize for that, but I did think this was something that should be discussed in this body as well. So I appreciate your attempt.
Thank you. Thank you, Brandy. Thank you, Tessa, on that. Let's go to John and Michelle Hales. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Tessa, just a couple quick questions. On the first one, on the 818, out of curiosity, what was the response from LAUSD on the location of that, if you will, hotel now and soon to be residence, in regards to that being across the street from the high school?
Yeah. So, the principal, from my understanding, has been supportive. And I think the school community, the sentiment is mixed. Some are very supportive and some are very, concerned that there may be challenges. So our job is that we need to assure people that, safety will be of utmost concern and prioritized. What we have explained is that even some children from Taft are going to be housed there. And that, the security will be maintained throughout. And that these are often, the majority of folks there are going to be, women and children. And we don't anticipate any challenges, but of course, we will have all kinds of standards and options in place to make sure that we are, providing neighbors with a phone number to call. We'll have security on site. So we're hoping that people ultimately feel very comfortable. And my understanding is that the school administration is okay with it.
Okay, and that's the school administration. Principal can't speak for LAUSD, but I would assume that they were stepping into that position as well. Let me just shift over to the second question. There is an extended stay America, not too far from there,
Tampa.
but on Tampa. Is that part of your area as well?
Yeah, Supervisor Kuehl's area, but I'm not sure that we're looking at that as a site. I think we're limiting, at least for the county, we're just focused on the 818.
Okay.
It could be that Councilman Blumenfield is looking at the other hotel.
Yeah, that was part of a 4-hotel purchase, the county and the state are moving in.
It would be the city. I think it would be the city.
It's the county. And the other side of that issue there is that right now they have Section 8 people staying there. Is that going to continue on between this hotel and 818?
I'm not familiar with the Tampa one, so I'll have to ask. I just don't know anything about a Tampa hotel. I know that there is an extended stay hotel right next door to the 818 hotel that Councilman Blumenfield's office is looking at, and they've applied for funding. And we're actually finding out if the 818 currently has occupants in it. We believe that it's not occupied. But if it is, then we need to figure out, are they eligible to stay or not? Then they need to leave.
Okay, and the final, on the 818, what is the final move-in date, if you will, that's assumed at this point?
Yeah, we don't have that. We're hoping, it depends on when the renovations are complete. We're hoping for before the end of the year, but it may be longer.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Brian Allen, floor is yours.
Thank you. Tessa, I was in the meeting with the CAG and you and Elon and whoever else was in that meeting. And I'm trying to figure out where you came up with this idea that the CAG may be able to subpoena. It has been said many, many times. We've gone on record with both Sheila Kuehl's office and DPH that the only place that can subpoena is the Board of Supervisors or DPH, the Health Department. That statement you made is completely untrue, and it bothers me to no end to have misstatements of that nature, so important a statement, to be made to anybody, any public or council. That is just wrong. So where did you get that information?
Mr. Allen, this was a discussion point in the meeting, if you recall, and we were not aware, at least our office was not aware, that you would not be in a position to subpoena. We heard very clearly in the meeting that you and others indicated that there is no way that the community can subpoena these documents. But as I noted just now, that was new information for our office. Please recall that we are relatively new to this area. So, but based on what we heard, I was just reiterating just now what I heard and what our original understanding was.
Well, you heard wrong in that respect, but Sheila Kuehl's been around for a long time. This gas blowout has now passed 6 years, and I'm amazed that Sheila Kuehl's office and staff do not know what's going on with that blowout, and would allow yourselves to be putting out disinformation, that seems to be an important word these days, to anyone. This is the most important issue of our time, and to have such lack of concern and lack of knowledge and lack of attention to learn about it from a government standpoint is unforgivable. Thank you.
I'm sorry you feel that way. The supervisor cares very much about making sure that, as we said in the meeting, that the health study is carried forward and that you all get the answers that you need and whatever supports it is that you need.
So that's why she didn't meet with us any one of the 3 meetings we had. She cares so much. I would caution you not to make statements like that because no one would believe them. Thank you.
Thank you,
I'm going to
Brian.
give you the last word, Mr. Allen, because I know you need it.
All right, let's move to Craig. Craig, the floor is yours.
Now I've unmuted. Good evening, everyone. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we do.
Hi, and Tessa, I was also in that meeting with you and your staff, along with what Brian said. And although Brian may have appeared to many of you as a little bit animated, everything he said was true and accurate. We made it abundantly clear that the only ones that possess the true authority, subpoena authority, to pierce the trade secrecy veil that SoCal Gas benefits from is a public health entity. Not only was this discussed with Tessa and her counterparts on the staff, but also we cited the state legal code that the supervisor's office could pursue. So this is of no mystery. We also learned in our meetings that Sheila Kuehl is an attorney, and I've heard her speak. She's an incredibly smart lady. So this passing it back to the CAG is a complete red herring in an effort to only distract us. And I really hope you all appreciate that and take it that way, because there was a couple of board members in that meeting as well. So Tessa, the unraveling of the consent decree, let's understand, everyone, please, the origin of that consent decree and that deal, let's call it, to prevent SoCal Gas from facing criminal charges was done by the state, county, and city, right? And the $25 million for the health study came from that. So what we are now hearing is they are in fear, they, being the legal folks behind those entities, is in fear of challenging and doing a subpoena to SoCal Gas because it could unravel a multi-million-dollar deal. So once again, that decision was put in the elected and, the elected and the attorneys' hands to cut a deal that does not benefit us. So that was one of the very beginning patterns and practices, and I'm going to tell you more about it in the CAG update of how we are not going to get the health study that we all expect and morally deserve. It will not achieve it will not answer the questions that Tessa just said she hopes through Supervisor Kuehl's involvement we will get. The CAG has been together for 2 years. I assure you we will not. And I welcome those from the board that attended our meetings with Kuehl to contribute to this conversation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Any other questions or comments for Tessa? With no further questions, thank you, Tessa, for coming. And are you going to stick around or?
Yes.
Perfect. Sounds good. If any other questions pop up, I might ask, but we can move forward. Any other elected officials here that want to speak? Thank you, Tara. Let's bring you in. 1 second. Tara, the floor is yours.
There I am. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tara Vajani, and I work for LUSD School Board Member Scott Schmerlson. I have a couple of updates about our schools in our district, but I just want to start off by saying how nice it was to see the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council at Chatsworth High School's Carnival of Knowledge back in April. You know, that's one of the goals that I started at the district, to improve relationships with neighborhood councils and our local schools. So I thought it was wonderful that you were all at that community event. Hopefully a lot of families stopped by your booth and got to learn more about what neighborhood council is, what you all do in the community, and what resources you can provide for them. So thanks for tabling there. Some school updates. I'm going to go through these, and I trust that some of you might already know these updates because you're pretty involved in our schools. But first off, I want to recognize 2 folks from the Porter Ranch Community School. The first person is Christy Matassa, who, as we speak, is being recognized by the North Valley Regional Chamber as their Parent Volunteer of the Year. So that's really exciting. She's at the ceremony right now with Mr. Schmerlson. So we're really, she's done so much for the school since it started. So we want to acknowledge her. And then I'd also like to give a shout out to Brenna Maxfield, who is a 5th grade teacher at PRCS. She is going to be recognized by the Chatsworth Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council Chamber of Commerce next week at their annual Unforgettable Educator Awards. So, Ms. Maxfield is recognized as one of the finalists for the Unforgettable Educator. So that's pretty amazing of all the teachers that were nominated. Because you all have been supporters of Castle Bay's robotics program in the past, I also wanted to let you know that Castle Bay hosted a robotics tournament over the weekend, and students from Castle Bay participated. Some other schools also got to participate. Mr. Schmerlson attended, and he said it was really wonderful to see students in person again, getting to, it's not about competing against each other. It's about, learning those important teamwork skills about, if something doesn't work the first time, how do we pause, think about it, and try again? So we're really thankful to everyone at Castle Bay. I know the parent organization plays a big part in bringing those events together for hosting that program. Not quite in your boundaries, but because a lot of Castle Bay families do end up going to Frost Middle School, I wanted to let you all know that Frost is hosting an event specifically for 4th and 5th grade parents who are interested in learning more about their middle school options. So there are going to be 2 kind of like open houses. One will take place on Wednesday, May 25th at 6 p.m. in person. And then the second one is on Saturday, June 4th at 5:30 p.m. also in person. I'll send the promotional flyer that includes the registration link. And if you all have kids those ages, fabulous. If not, please share it with people who do have older elementary children and are starting to think about their middle school options. Frost is home to a STEAM magnet, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Mathematics. It also has like a music conservatory, lots of really great programs to check out. And then my last update, it falls under the umbrella of the student board member position. So as you might know, we have 7 elected school board members that represent various regions of Los Angeles. And then we have 1 student board member. And this year's student board member is Parishi Kanuga. She is a student at Cleveland High School. And on Tuesday, May 17th, she is hosting a town hall for students where the featured speaker will be Superintendent Alberto Carvalho. So if you missed our town hall, we're District 3's town hall earlier this month, and you are a student, you know, this is really supposed to be a dialogue between the superintendent, the student board member, and students to get a sense of, you know, what issues would they like the superintendent to focus on now that he's officially joined our district. So that starts at 5 on Tuesday. Again, I'll send the flyer that has the Zoom info on it. And then lastly, just about less than an hour ago, students elected Nate Shin, a student at North Hollywood High School, as their 2022-23 student board member. So please join me in congratulating Nate. He will be the 2nd Board District 3 student in a row to serve in this capacity. So we are very excited and happy that our Valley schools are well represented on the board. So I see Jason has a question. Thanks again for the time.
Thank you, Tara. I think Jason has a question. Jason?
Oh, hi, Tara. No, I wanted to thank Mr. Schmerlson for coming to Castle Bay, because I was there with my daughter on the robotics tournament, and it was so much fun. And I think it was like the only tournament this year that they're able to do because of COVID. I'm not really aware of any other ones, but the year is over. And it was nice outreach for Porter Ranch, because on the back of the t-shirts that they were selling, all the kids have, it says Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. So I was real happy to see Mr. Schmerlson there, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, the kids were just losing their minds. The robots were shooting baskets. That was the thing, you know, pushing it around and shooting baskets. So it was a lot of fun, and you know, we appreciate the attendance and support. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Tara. I do see another question from John Hales. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you very much. I appreciate what you do. You're awesome. I can see the passion that drives you, and that's definitely an enlightenment. We have one question, if I could kind of carry over to you. Could you kind of share with us LAUSD's look at the 818 hotel location to the school? One of the surprises I guess I got was that some of the kids from that school will be going and having their residence there, which was touted there are going to be lots of security, but we all know that kids from middle school on up are pretty sharp. Could you share anything that maybe LAUSD is meeting about or concerns about? Thank you.
Yeah, I can share what I know. I'm going to preface this with, you know, Taft High School and the part of Woodland Hills we're talking about right now is technically in Board District 4, which is represented by board member Nick Melvoin. But I do know that, you know, the principal has been really involved in this process. I know Mr. Blumenfield's office has met with the PTA at Taft to discuss some of their concerns. So I know there are definitely, you know, concerns from various community groups about what this addition will do to the community. While I don't know if Mr. Melvoin or if the superintendent has made an official statement, I do know that we have over 20,000 students experiencing homelessness at LA Unified, and that in the past, the district has advocated for greater housing resources in the city to make sure that our families don't have to double, triple up in homes or sleep in their cars. So I don't know about this specific situation and how Mr. Schmerlson feels about it, but I know generally he is a supporter of, you know, having our students housed, you know, having them be able to go to a place with internet after school to do their homework, to shower, etc. So yeah, I would direct any questions specifically to Mr. Melvoin's office, but I would say that we do need more resources for families, because a lot of shelters in the Valley in particular, only accept single adults. So, having a shelter that accepts children is much needed in our community.
Excellent. Thank you. The picture is very clear now.
Thank you. Thank you, John. We got one more board question for you. David Lasher, floor is yours.
Hi, Tara, can you repeat that number again? Of how many students within LUSD are associated with homeless issues?
So before the pandemic, it was like just before 20,000 students. The ability to kind of like collect the slips that families have to fill out when they enroll in a school, it has been kind of impacted by the pandemic. So it's anticipated that that number has grown since COVID happened, but
Right.
the ballpark is about 20,000.
You're saying that 20,000 students within LUSD are homeless?
Experiencing homelessness. So that doesn't
Okay.
necessarily mean that they live on the streets. It
Right.
could mean that they live in a shelter, they live in a car, they live with 3 other people. Yeah.
Okay, that's a strange number because there's only 20,000 homeless in LA City, 60,000 in the entire county. Across the board, everybody that's homeless. So maybe it's just a way of statistically how they're counting it versus they're not actually necessarily homeless. They may be under pressure for housing. That's a weird number compared to the entire city of LA has 20,000 homeless by the last count.
Told you the homeless count is low.
It's not, but that's okay. But there's no way there's 20,000 students and 20,000 in the city of LA, but the count's been pretty accurate as far as I know, but it's we'll go from there. But I think it's more about the methodology, how they counted based on how you described it. Thanks, Tara, for the explanation.
Thank you, David. And one last question, Becky.
Yeah, hi, Tara. How many students are in LAUSD approximately? Do you know?
Yeah, this school year, it's about 420,000 students.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Trying to put everything in perspective. Thank you so much.
Awesome. With no further questions, thank you, Tara, for coming as always. And let us know on future events so we can participate in them as well. Just like the Carnival of Knowledge that we did. It was a great event. I appreciate it. Let's move on to next item. Next item is public comments on items not on the agenda and within the purview of the board. Please raise your hand. All right, I got 2 so far. All right, Dave Brown, floor is yours.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. It's great to see you all. And your meetings, as always, are very informative and a treat to attend. I have 2 items for you, one of information, one request. This Saturday is Fire Service Day from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 5 of the more major fire stations. The one closest to us is Fire Station 88 on Sepulveda Boulevard, address 5101 North Sepulveda Boulevard, west side of Sepulveda, just south of Magnolia. Included in that will be a memorial for Linda Pruitt, of recent from Lake Balboa Neighborhood Council Emergency Preparedness Chair and founding director of the Southern California Preparedness Foundation. Her daughter will be there to receive awards and acknowledgements from all the various city officials and everything. The Fire Service Day is a very good, nice deal, and the one on Sepulveda is the closest one. The other item is we would like to present to the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council and MPG for a future meeting for a Cert 1 class to be held in Porter Ranch at the Vineyards. The start date would be July 11th. The finish date would be August 22nd. And what we would ask, the foundation would offer to pay 50% of the class completion kits, and as well as cover any overages from unexpected additional attendees and any cost of pickup, distribution, and things of that nature. So we would like to submit to you a complete MPG, shortly, so that it could be agendized for a future meeting, and welcome your participation in that. That would include logo and contact information on all the flyers and outreach material. Obviously, any additional possible acknowledgements and everything. We feel that there's a huge pent-up demand for CERT classes because there haven't been any. We tried a couple online that kind of worked, but nothing beats in person, and particularly the hands-on skills test need to be in person. So we really think CERT is going to explode, and this is a good opportunity to jump right in on the beginning of this, and we would certainly welcome your involvement and participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I really appreciate that. John, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Gabriel.
Thank you.
My wife and I have attended almost 300 Zoom meetings over the past 2 years, and we're out there searching for the Holy Grail. And whatever we find, we tend to share with a lot of the neighborhood councils. About 6 months ago, Kaiser Permanente, out of their corporate office, made some major decisions on mental health, support for mental health. Specifically, people who have had particular incidents that require support, they have modified the support that they will give to an individual patient. Outpatient, that is. 6 visits, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you're done, goodbye, and you're gone. And then it's all on you after that. They don't necessarily announce this, but I think seeing as this is the month for mental health, and with all of the issues that we have, whether you turn on the TV or the radio, you're going to see that. But just so that you understand that Kaiser, as one of the several mental health supporters across the US, has decided to cut back their costs on the continuing support for people. It is something that we need to share with everybody so that you're aware of it. If you are part of Kaiser, ask about that, because it's something that quite a few people within Kaiser don't know about it. But the other hospitals are squeaking with the squeeze on their financial situation because they can't provide the support they really need to. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, with no further comments, let's move on to the next agenda item, which is updates by budget advocates. Please raise your hand. Thank you, Brian. Brian, the floor is yours. Can't hear you. Muted. You're still muted, Brian.
All right, thank you very much. I'm happy to give you a very short report because the budget advocates, as I think everybody knows, is coming to the end of their year, and we have got the white paper out. It's in electronic format. If you haven't received it yet, Gabriel, if you haven't received it, let me know, and I will make sure that I resend it to you.
Yes, please send it over.
Okay, and other than that, the paper does have a lot of good information, I believe. I think it will be very interesting for everybody to read, especially the departments that are closely related to the NC. And I think that's about all I have to tell you. I can remind you that there is a budget day coming up June 18th. I would recommend anybody that wants to participate be involved in that, and it should have some good information. Other than that, if you have any questions, fire away. I'm always willing to take ideas and carry them forward.
Thank you, Brian. And it seems like John has a question for you. John, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for what you do. Just a quick question. Could you do me a favor? And I've heard this from several of the NCs so far. Explain, short term, what is the white paper?
The white paper is it's a product that we put out every year. It culminates in a 4, 5, 6 page sometimes summary of what we feel is important for the moment, but it includes, it's about 100 and, I forgot the exact amount, but it's like 130 pages. But it covers all the departments which we interview during the year, and it has a summary of what we, the budget advocates, think the departments should be doing or should consider, ideas that we have come up with when dealing with them through the year and in their meetings. And in many cases, the ideas we present to the Budget and Finance Committee are adopted. We have about a 30-35% track record of the suggestions and recommendations we make as being adopted. So we have a pretty good handle, at least from a cursory standpoint, of the budgets of the departments, and we try very hard to understand the services that they provide and whether or not they're being provided properly. And lately we have had a quest from Solid to have funding for the Devonshire Police Station, and in that we have given some input based on, at these meetings, based on some of our knowledge of what goes on in the police stations and what the budgets are for and what they can and can't fund. So it's just a general understanding of the city budget department by department.
Awesome. Thank you. Now it's clear. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, John. Any other questions for Brian? Going once, twice. No further questions. Thank you, Brian.
Sold. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to CAG updates. Please raise your hand. Craig, the floor is yours once you come in.
Gabriel, I'm still having problems screen sharing, just so you know.
That's weird. It says here everybody has access. Let me try it again.
I keep trying it, but it's like, it goes to my system preferences and
I'm here.
Thank you, Craig. Try it now, Jason, just in case, real quick.
go ahead. Go
All
ahead.
right, Craig, go ahead.
Okay. Hey, thanks everyone. You know, as we typically try to do every month, I try to give you an update from the CAG on what's going on. And you know, the CAG has been at this for well over 2 years, and we've met many impasses. We came to what the CAG concluded was a serious impasse with the Department of Public Health, all centered around the final publication of the RFP. And the RFP, as you all know, is the request for proposal that was based on the goals and priorities document that the Department of Public Health met with this group and explained to you what was in it and the content. And admirably, the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council pushed back and said, look, there's too big of a gap between what was articulated in the goals and priorities and what the community wants. And if a lot of it had to do was centered around the necessity to clinically evaluate the folks surrounding Aliso Canyon for health issues. And Jason, your father, was who was an MD, was one of the biggest advocates for that, a long-term longitudinal clinical health study. And what I admired about the board and what they did and the actions they took and the position you guys took was, hey, it was right down the middle. Please go back, revise the goals and priorities to close the gap that we have. It's a logical thing to do. DPH refused. They moved forward with the goals and priorities just the way it was, and exactly what we anticipated, because they do telegraph their moves. The RFP, which is the official document going out to the researchers to bid on the project and get awarded up to $25 million, did not include hardly any mention. I think there was one mention, maybe two, in a 300-page document about clinical evaluations. So they didn't listen to the CAG, they didn't listen to the neighborhood council. And what I'm trying to do right now is show you a pattern and practice of what's going on with your health study and your health studies money. So the CAG reached an impasse. We then got a new supervisor. We took our concerns to the new supervisor Kuehl's office, and we were deferred to her staff, who you heard from Tessa earlier this evening. And initially, Tessa and the health coordinator liaison were very concerned. They were listening very intently to our issues. Gabriel was there, Becky was there, Brandy was part of the team at the time, and there was great concern. And it's like, we'll get back to you. They finally got back to us, and forgive me for using the cliche, but nothing could be truer. They drank the Kool-Aid and completely flip-flopped and went to, well, we think they're on the right path. We don't want to put any guardrails on what the RFP responses might be. If they come back with clinical, that would be great. And we have consistently attested, again, here's that pattern in practice, that they never even recommended, let alone insisted, that clinical evaluations be a part of the proposal. What they did require, and they being DPH's document that went out, what they did require was computer modeling based upon what we know is flawed air monitoring data. Now you heard tonight, once again, as we did in our last meeting with Supervisor Kuehl's staff, not her, not the supervisor. Oh, well, we think, and we thought we talked about the CAG can pursue a subpoena to go get this information. Everyone, think for a moment, if anybody in the civilian world could have went and got that, you don't think we would have? If the CAG could do it, PRNC could do it. Okay, once again, a pattern of practice of kicking the can down the road and leaving us with a study that I promise you, and I'm sending up every warning signal I can, will not answer the questions that you have about your health or your children's health. So the CAG has truly hit an impasse, and we've hit a wall, and we are in a unanimous fashion, arguing that this study is not what you guys had hoped for. And I would love to entertain questions or comments or thoughts from the council of what you would like to do with this information.
Thank you, Craig. Board members?
Some of you were there. You heard it. Might want to share with your other board members. Don't leave it all in my lap.
Yeah, I totally believe we're getting a runaround. We're going in circles, and every meeting I've been to, I feel the same way. And I don't have any confidence in the health study as well. I'm trying to be optimistic, but we are where we're at right now. And I just wish that Sheila Keel's office, herself was at our meeting, the CAG meeting, but she did not attend, if I recall correctly, none of the times.
You're correct.
David Lasher, floor is yours.
2 points. Thanks, Craig. That gives you plausible deniability. You can't say you didn't hear what you weren't there to hear. Number two, if other people could have filed suit on this, there'd be 500 people who would have already sued for that data. So I think the answer is pretty obvious. You don't have to be an attorney to figure that one out. So I appreciate the effort and the ongoing push into getting the list of chemicals, for example.
Thank you, David. Becky?
I just would like to say that I agree with Gabriel and David Lasher. And I just kind of feel like with them, we're just beating our heads against the wall. You know, we're screaming so loud, no one's listening to us. And I think that, you know, their staff are very limited in what they can do, but nothing's happening. We haven't received any more information. I don't think we're going to. I think we need, I don't know. It's very sad.
Thank you, Becky. I truly believe the staff cares, but there's something
I do too.
Politically motivated in between everything that's stopping everyone from speaking. Brandy, go ahead.
I don't necessarily think there's something politically motivated in stopping. I also believe the staff cares and is trying. I think I think that there is, on the DPH side, a lack of motivation to solve problems that are solvable. I think that, you know, they brought up this issue with the clinical health study, that it wouldn't be helpful because we don't have data from before the blowout to compare. And that's a fairly solved problem. They have that all the time in other studies. You go and get data from similar communities that don't have the issue. So if they wanted to see how ELISA was affecting us, they would look for a community that does not have any kind of gas facility within X radius. If they wanted to see how the blowout affected us specifically, they can find a community that is within similar range of a gas storage facility or gas facility of similar type and see how it compares there. So it feels like there are obstacles that people run into, and that there's perhaps a lack of motivation to stop and try to consider possible solutions. And we're not able to discuss the possibility of solutions when we don't have everyone at the table. So I also wish that the supervisor had personally met with us. I do wish that this had more opportunity to be fleshed out than a handful of 1-hour meetings. And so yeah, I'm very disappointed at the direction this has gone, but I am also optimistic that there are places this can still go.
Thank you. Thank you, Brandy. Jason?
Don't we have a new supervisor coming in the
There's
election?
elections, yes.
So stay optimistic. And, you know, I think that you guys were at the table, and, you know, you guys are working hard. So I thank you, and don't be discouraged, you know, keep it up. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Jason.
Just to respond to Jason's point, we believe the RFP will have been issued before the new supervisor takes office. And it'll be a done deal, Jason.
Thank you, Craig. Brian Allen?
I'd just like to add that if anyone has any question of the chemical list and the fact that it is not available and will not be, you can just simply ask your representative from Southern California Gas, who happens to be on this meeting, what his position is on it. If we ask for the list, will Southern California Gas give it to us? I think that will give you a pretty good idea as to whether Southern California Gas is receptive to being a good neighbor and perform properly for the citizens that it serves.
Thank you, Brian. All right, I got Patty. Floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I have to echo what's been said here. It's been truly frustrating trying to be a CAG member, trying to get a decent health study for this community that has gone through so much, and that we keep hearing about more and more cancer diagnoses, more and more multiple myeloma. I mean, the list goes on, that in some of our families too, and personally my own, that we're seeing this and seeing just sort of Damocles is hanging over each of our heads. And don't think that's not, because some of these cancers will take 5 or so years to develop. And about I mean, we mentioned the Deepwater Horizon disaster got a major health study, the Gulf study, and that had a major clinical portion to it, aspect to it, where they had centers set up for workers who worked on the cleanup, and also residents of the Gulf to come and get checked out, get blood work and all that. But they also came to some people's homes. So they went the extra mile to try to get subjects examine. And that's what we need here. And we're not even talking about something that's several states wide. We're talking about a little, maybe 10-mile radius of getting these examinations, and not even full examinations, but blood work and all that. So I appreciate what Brian said, Craig said, Gabrielle said, Becky said. This has just been so frustrating. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. I got Karen Waters next, and then I have David Lasher. Karen, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. Very nice meeting, by the way, Gabriel.
Thank you.
I just make a quick comment on here. I agree with everything that everyone has said. And I, although it is city, I had a conversation with one of the mayoral candidates, and I also had a conversation with a state representative, and the corruption word is starting to fall out. I actually have a cousin who won an Emmy on the East Coast for news reporting, who also was asking me questions about this. So I don't know where it came from or how it's getting out, but apparently because people are sick and nothing has been done, and silence speaks louder than words, right? So we'll see what happens. But once that corruption word starts coming out, as we saw with Mr. Ridley Thomas, there may be some solutions that come out, because people don't like to get aligned with that. So we'll see. But thank you again for everyone. Excellent meeting.
Thank you, Karen. I appreciate it. All right, I got David Lasher. Floor is yours.
I'll do you one better on the Gulf oil spill. That was natural oil, and in that it was straight out of the ground, crude and methane gas naturally coming out of the earth. The products in the ground in Elisa were put back in the ground after being mixed with other proprietary chemicals. And we all know it's going to be, Craig knows, we all know it's going to be, 80 to 100 compounds. It's 10 times more noxious than just straight crude oil and natural gas. If that has a health effect, which it does and has, to not study this is just criminal in every respect, in terms of how many more other products that you shouldn't have in your lungs, your body, or on your skin. And that's about all I have to say.
Thank you, David. And Becky.
Just in response, that was a lovely, thank you, Karen. But having been part of this from the July prior to the leak, and meeting with the county, with Mike Antonovich's office at the time when Termo wanted to put wells back there, and then we have the explosion. Once everything happened, everybody was here, everyone was helping us. But once those people, such as our mayor, where is he? And I don't think the mayor is going to help us, no matter who the new mayor is. Our past mayor, they got paid, they got their money, and we haven't really had much support from his office ever since they got their money. So it's very frustrating, because what about us? That's it.
Thank you, Becky. Any other comments, questions?
Do you mind if I close out? Yeah.
Go ahead, Craig. Floor is yours to close it.
If anybody raises their hand, please jump in.
Got it.
So I want to, I really commend all the observations made, and I don't think one penetrated me as much as what David Lasher said. They know SoCal Gas. They know what chemicals we were exposed to. And I love Brian's idea. Let's challenge the representative and have him bring forward that information. And it's very, very damaging. Any logical person would conclude that. This is the worst polytoxin exposure in U.S. history. Yet the response has not been of the same caliber. I'm glad Karen brought up what she did. The documentary filmmakers have approached me, and they are very, very interested in the backstory, and in the discussions, they hint towards corruption. Now, we are not alone, and I urge every one of you to watch Meltdown, the 3 Mile Island documentary on Netflix called Meltdown. The playbook is exactly the same. There's a collusion that happens between the regulators and the industry folks that abuse the laws and hurt people, and they are able to hide behind it, all engineered and supported by our elected. And that's why Tessa says what she says. And I will be honest with you, and many of you are being very kind to Tessa. She's a nice lady, but she's on a very different mission than this community is. And what are we on a mission for? The simple truth. We're not trying to ruin any politicians' careers. We're not trying to, put someone in prison that maybe did a bad test from Department of Public Health. But when you look at the aggregated behavior of really smart people who make really dumb choices, like saying, oh, it's been so long, a clinical study wouldn't tell you much, when everyone on this room in this call knows about the latency of cancers, and it's now. It's right now. 6 years out, it's now. And you look on Facebook and people are talking about multiple myeloma and some really, really nasty things. Watch that documentary and you will see that we are being played, just like it was done 43 years ago. And if this community doesn't step up and take care of itself, no one else will. And I thank you for entrusting me with being a CAG member. I thank you for your time tonight. And I thank you for the continued support, because we will be bringing you ideas of how the community can take care of itself.
Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it, and thank you for all you do. It is well recognized. Thanks. All right, let's move on to the next item, which is Treasurer's Report.
All right.
You want me?
Gabriel, you got to help me out. Yeah.
I'll share it then. Yeah, give me 1 second.
While you're doing that, I'll just let everybody know we're getting to the end of the fiscal year now. And hold on 1 second. I lost my screen. And the June 1st is the deadline for check payment requests. So that would be like NPGs and things like that. So anything that we approved at the June meeting would be in the next fiscal year. The credit card will work until June 20th. So potentially if there are items on the next month's meeting that were credit card items, they could be paid under this fiscal year's budget. And so now, so the balance is 92. You can't zoom in, can you, a little bit? Some funds are being held. And there's some, yeah, that's good. Perfect. Thank you. I wanted to show the cash balance, 24,000. So 5,000 is being held for the outreach items that you guys approved. And then another 1,500 is like for the grant, the Keep LA Beautiful grant matching funds. But that may not likely happen this fiscal year, hopefully, but it might need to be rolled over to next year. So we're like able to take 10,000 over. So we're just under that, but actually there's some items that haven't cleared yet. And also the outreach items haven't been purchased. So I think we need to maybe figure out, are you going to spend the rest of that 5,000 or what is the plan for that money? Because it's being held right now, but if we don't spend it, then it won't carry over if it's over the 10,000. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on. So yeah, we need to decide if we're going to spend all 5,000 of that outreach money, what we're going to spend. That's a lot.
It's actually 4,000, Jason. And yeah, they are actually working on the final steps to finalize the items that they're ordering. So we'll know I would say within the next week or two, we should know exactly how much we spent.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because, well, we only have the one funding motion for the ET Park, right, on the agenda. There were no other funding.
We have the funding motion. We have.
That's it.
No, we have the.
$500.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So, potentially we may need to have a special meeting maybe at the end of the month if there's, so keep me posted on the outreach
Will do.
expenditures. And we'll have to see how things go.
Sounds good. Will do.
That's pretty much the update. Yeah, I have to check what checks have cleared because see where it says pending payments 5247. There's some things that people aren't cashing checks. So I have to see, follow up with some of those people. I think one of them might be the YMCA. We may have to issue, so we'll work on that. Becky, you got your hand up? Go ahead.
Yeah, the pending payments, those are pending. The city's already sent the checks out
Yes.
to the
yes.
people and they just haven't cashed the checks.
Right.
Okay, but it is spoken for.
Yeah, that's already been approved and issued. Let me see here. Let me try and go into payments here. Hold on. Yeah, I'll have to see. Whoops. Anyways, yeah, I'll try and give an update on that. But I basically have to follow up with those people and see like what happened, right?
And just to make a comment, as neighborhood councils, I think our job is to spend the money and not save it. So if we have $9,200 left over, I don't know why, we're saving it, maybe a little bit of an emergency fund, but I think the board should really think about spending everything that we have available, almost. That's our job.
Well,
that's it.
Yeah, the thing is like, usually we would have had more events, and COVID kind of took out a lot of the things we normally do. And they also lowered the budget though by 10,000, right? So in a way, it's almost like, helping to keep next year's budget like our old budget. You could look at it that way too. But yeah, I understand. I mean, I respect what you're saying.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And next item is March 2022 MER. Let me pull that out for you. Can you see it?
Yes, if you can zoom, it'll be good. Okay. All right.
There you go.
Yeah, you can go down because I went through the budget stuff already, I think. It's just Windy Apple One storage. Oh, okay. See, those are the outstanding there. That's what we were talking about. Outstanding right there. Congress of Neighborhoods. Voss, can you check on that? I don't know why they didn't scroll up a little bit. Outstanding expenditures. So that check went out and
that's for last year too.
Yeah, it's probably not good anymore.
Yeah, because I checked with them in this meeting also, they said that the check has not been cashed and they are going to find out what was the reason. I raised up this issue this evening in the last meeting.
Yeah, we'll have to reissue that check.
Yeah.
It's too old. And then Path, I don't know. I see Path right there. They haven't yeah. Hilda, do you know Linda? You know Linda, right, Hilda? You might reach out to her. I can talk.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, because like this for the what that was for the oh, you know what? Never mind. I talked to her. She has a check. She hasn't deposited yet. No,
You mean the 4,300, the 4,380?
Yeah, the 4,380. Yeah, she has.
Okay.
We're good on that. And then keep going down. Looks like okay. No, these checks might have been cashed. Okay.
What happened with the Nobel check? Was that out?
Yeah, it went out a little late, but yeah, it went out. Let me.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's actually wait. What happened? Wait a minute. What did they? For some reason, it was denied. May 6th.
Yeah, the Nobel one was denied. I'm not sure if you resubmitted it yesterday. Then we got a denied letter.
From who?
From city clerk. Hilda, we'll have to work on that together.
Was Nobel, are they going to rewrite the check? What's going to happen with
No,
that?
it says denied. An outdated application. Please have the application fill out the MPG application and resubmit the request. It says the application was an outdated done application. I think they used the old one. They need to go to the Empower LA website, city clerk, the most current one. Oh, boy. Okay.
I see Glenn Bailey has a question. Glenn, floor is yours.
Thank you. Is this is the March MER?
This is the March, correct.
So this is showing what is outstanding as of the close of the March MER. So that'd be March 30th.
Right. I understand.
So these checks may have cleared in the last 6 weeks since March 31st. You could
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
you could
Yeah,
go to your
volunteers,
account.
the
You could go to your
3,000
account
cleared.
and check and see that, specifically. Secondly, the city clerk, when city clerk took over funding, they revised the NPG form. So that's been like 5 years. So I'm not sure why an old one's still floating around, but they have to use the one that's on the city clerk's website, nowhere else. And then lastly, regarding the Congress. So I guess you should just check your account, see if by chance the check is cleared. Certainly, there's definitely delay that the city clerk issues the checks and they have them in the second floor. Then they have to get up to the 20th floor of City Hall for done. And done usually waits until a batching. So anything issued, so this was issued in July. I don't know at what point. I mean, sometimes they wait several months, but obviously this is way longer than several months. So
Glenn,
if it hasn't,
Glenn, the check is can't be older than 6 months usually.
no, I understand. I'm just right. I'm just saying. I'm just explaining the way that they handle the Congress checks and the way that they have handled budget advocate checks in the past. And there are substantial delays, and this is obviously more than substantial. And it is not acceptable that Dunn would not have, assuming that they got it from city clerk, which they got other checks in the same time frame, I believe. So that is undone, right? I understand the check would have to be reissued, but I think that you should get it in writing from Dunn that in fact that did they get the check, and if they did, what date did they get it, and then ask, well, then why didn't you cash it from the date you got it until now? Thank you.
Jason, can I add something to that?
Of course.
Okay, I'm reading here and it says, please note that the neighborhood purpose grant application is not the correct form to use to make a contribution to Congress. Correct form for this funding will be Neighborhood Council Funding Contribution Form. And the account head I'm looking at that is Congress of Neighborhoods Congress / Budget Advocacy Special Accounts fiscal year 2021 to
Yeah, I use that form. That's the form that was used. I think, are you talking about, I think you're confusing something with, the check has been issued. It was approved and issued.
So it is from the Dunn, like they have not cleared it yet.
Yeah. There's no issue with, when I talked about the payment being denied, that was referring to a different,
Okay.
a different motion. Yeah.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
was for the Nobel.
Okay. Yeah, because I asked them at this meeting and they said that.
Well, they have the
will
check.
look
They're
into-
just not cashing it, or they
Yeah.
don't, they're not doing something with the check.
Yeah.
Maybe
like
they just don't need it.
Yeah, because they said they will look into it and Glenn has
I doubt
replied
that.
that one. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we're gonna have to have a reissued or something, but
Yeah, after 6 months, yeah.
Thank you, Voss.
You're welcome.
You want to add anything to it, Jason, or should Becky call the roll?
no, I would just appreciate, Voss, if you could kind of like, work with me, and then yeah, I think we're good. Besides that, we'll get everybody's checks cashed.
Yeah,
Okay.
because the reason I raised this issue was that I was looking into the sign up form and our contribution was missing from that one. So I asked them and they said that they will look into that one. And Glenn has already replied that one. So this issue is under their consideration.
Can you ask them if they received the check, please?
Yeah, I think they have received the check, but it was not cashed or something. I will.
Well, then they're gonna want it to be mailed back. They're gonna have to mail it back to city clerk, because that's what they do. They tell you to send the check back.
Okay, our next meeting is on June
Please
4th.
work with me and
Yeah.
we'll work with them. Let's all work together and get it
Yeah.
resolved. I
Okay.
need some assistance on that.
Okay. Glenn, can you give us some more information on that?
Work with Glenn too, like we
Okay.
can take this offline.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hilda.
Jason, so
Yeah.
what do we have to do now? Like, when were
I
you
think it's
notified?
okay. Linda, maybe just call her and remind her to please cash a check because our.
Oh, about Linda, you're talking about Castle Bay. What about
Yeah.
Nobel? Well,
No,
how-
but okay, we'll have to work offline.
Okay.
Together on that.
No problem.
Get the most up-to-date application off of the website,
The city clerk's office. Yeah, okay.
yeah, make sure it comes from the clerk's website. When you get it off of Google or something, you might get the wrong one.
Well, I gotta tell her to do that. Okay, all right, we'll talk offline.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jason, you want to make the motion?
Motion to approve the MER for April, right?
March.
March.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Becky, call the vote. You're muted, Becky.
Not like me. Okay. David Lasher,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yes.
Hilda Sarkeesian,
Yes,
Jason Hector,
Yes.
Luis, I saw tuned into the meeting. So Luis. Okay.
Louis, you're muted. All right. Skip him for now and come back.
Okay, and I am a yes. Brandy Grace,
Yes.
Jennifer Abraham,
Yes.
Boss Singh,
Yes.
Christine Demerchian,
Yes.
and Gabriel Conlon.
Yes, and go back to Lewis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Becky, did you get me?
I got it. I got everybody.
I didn't say yes, but yes.
Oh, you didn't answer. Okay, well, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you, everyone. Yes, motion passes. Let's move on to the next one. Jason, floor is yours again.
All right, thank you, Gabriel. Let's see. Yeah, you can just probably scroll down a little bit to, okay, storage and then the VCC. Okay, so outstanding, keep going. Apple One, Wendy. Okay, yeah, not much here. If there's no questions, I'll make the motion to approve.
I will second it.
Thank you.
Becky, you want to call it?
David Lasher,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yes.
Hilda Sarkeesian,
yes,
Jason Hector.
Yes.
Thank you. Luis Ramirez,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Brandy Grace,
Yes.
Jennifer Abraham.
Yes.
Okay, and Boss Singh,
Yes.
Christine, my son is Christopher, Christine Demerchian.
Yes.
Okay, and Gabriel Conlon.
Yes,
Okay, it's unanimous.
thank you. And Jason, floor is yours again.
Okay, I just put this motion in regarding what we had approved previously for food. CD 12 is working on this event, and they actually got a grant through Cultural Affairs, Department of Cultural Affairs, and they're going to be doing a screening of ET Park on that day, I believe, when they do the renaming. So it's going to be multiple. They're in contact with the some of the actors and studio people, I guess, and things like that. So I'm not sure exactly what they're working on, but it's going to probably be pretty big. And I know I spoke with a stakeholder about some of the concerns that they're having in the community about bringing attention to that park. And I referred them to CD 12 to speak with Ron, who handles it, because really that's it's kind of above us now. I mean, that's like a big thing that they've been working on back when Greg Smith, first approached the idea, and we voted to support the renaming and all that. So I know they've been working with Universal for quite some time, and it's all kind of coming together. And now they've added this grant with the screening of the movie. So, I'm open to whatever the board desires. I just did a kind of a higher number because you can always go down in the amount, but you can't go up. So I have no idea how many people are going to show. It could be 50 or 100, or I don't know. It's hard to say, but we can do food, refreshments, snacks, whatever we can get approved through city clerk's office. So I'd like to hear what everybody's ideas and thoughts are.
Sounds good. Becky?
Yeah, I got a couple questions. First of all, Jason, do we have a potential date for this event?
No, because I think Colin said it's getting approved by the Board of Recs and Parks right now. So as far as I know, there's no date set. The 40th anniversary just came up. They were thinking, but it's too short of a notice to do this kind of event. So the date is still being worked on, and I'm not involved in any of that. So it's pretty much.
Is it this fiscal year, do you think, or is it going to be after July 1st?
It's going to be like right on the net, real close. But actually, we're using the credit card, so we would have until what did I say, June 20th. So
okay.
Yeah.
Two other things. You mentioned the word grant. I'm not familiar with that. What's that about? And then I'm not familiar with the screening. What's that all about?
So Department of Cultural Affairs, them, Department of Cultural Affairs.
I do.
With the city. So they have a lot of grants. They give out all kinds of grants. So I was told by Ron that they applied for a grant with Cultural Affairs and it got approved. CD12. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Can Colin address that? Is Colin still here?
Let's see.
Hey.
And then what was your, go ahead, Colin.
Sorry, yeah, I don't know about the grant Ron is speaking of. I'll just say that, until we have a date on when the renaming will actually happen. I mean, there's a lot of ideas out there, things we can do, but we're not locking anything in stone until we know, until we have a firm idea of when the renaming will actually, when we'll have a new sign up. So there's a lot of things in flux at this point. I don't anticipate it being up in the next several weeks. My guess would be later on in the summer. But until we're not, like I said, there's a lot of ideas out there, but we're not locking anything down as to what's particular we're going to do until we know when we can do it. That makes sense.
Sure.
And what is, you made a comment about a screening. What is that all about?
That was an idea that we would screen the movie. Again, nothing is set in stone at this point, because we can't set anything in stone until we know when the renaming is going to happen.
Because it's such a little park, and I just need to pass on the concerns of some of the people who live in the immediate area, that they've had trouble with racing right there in front of the park. Jason, you reported picking up needles in that park. It's a tiny little park. They have a big to do there.
Oh, I didn't pick up needles in that park.
I heard that there were, I thought that you did, but I heard that, and I know that
graffiti, but no needles.
So it's a little park, and I don't know, I think we should think about it.
And Becky, we've heard those concerns too.
Okay.
And so that's why I'm not committing to, obviously we want to celebrate the renaming of the park. What form that takes is still kind of up in the air, depending on when it happens. And again, we've heard those concerns from the community too. So we're taking all these things into account. Once we have a firm date on when it's going to be renamed, you guys will be the first to know what the final, plan is for, celebrating the renaming.
Okay, thanks, Colin.
Quick question. How much notice do you think we will get? I know we're trying to increase the budget right now for this event, but as you know, the fiscal year ends next month.
Yeah.
Are we going to have adequate notice, a month notice, a week notice?
June 20th would be like the deadline for this fiscal year, and then it would be, the following, but basically it would roll over. So we would vote again next fiscal year to roll over that, not roll over, but like to affirm the motion. So that's just how, so you guys understand from our financial standpoint, if we approve it now, then next fiscal year, it would come up on the agenda again to affirm what we already approved. But I didn't mean to cut Colin off if he has something else he was going to add.
No, I don't know. I don't know how much lead time we would have exactly. We just did a park renaming in West Hills for an LAPD officer who passed away, and so, we had enough, lead time. We weren't doing like a movie screening or something like that, but, we had enough lead time that we could plan a proper, celebration of the renaming of the park in his honor. I'm not saying you guys shouldn't move ahead and do what you want to do tonight. I just don't know. I can't tell you when this actual renaming is going to happen. And again, we have heard concerns from the community. So, what the final decision is going to be on how we decide to, memorialize this, it's in flux at this point. There will certainly be some sort of, ribbon cutting ceremony celebration, whether it's, whether it's a screening or whether it's something more low key. I don't know yet because we don't have a date and we are hearing some concerns. So that's still up in the air. It'll come together fairly quickly once we have a date.
But I appreciate you calling, listening to the concerns. So thank you.
Thanks, Colin.
Thank you. David Balin.
Thank you. My hand was getting tired holding it up so long. Honestly, Jason and I started down the road with Greg Smith on this, a few years back. But my recommendation would be to table this. I think if the council member, I think if he needs our assistance financially, he'll reach out to the neighborhood councils. He knows that he has our support to show up and support this. I know that the AMC would shut down for the community to, give us, a day of movie for ET. I think this motion should just be tabled at this time, and we really need to be focused. I know Becky wants to spend the money, but let's really focus on what we want to spend the money on in the community that makes it worthwhile. So I tell you, and Colin will attest to it, that if they need our support, they'll be the first people to ask. Right now, if Cultural Affairs is giving them a grant, I'm sure it's not a small grant, and I'm sure it will be substantial to do what we need to do with the renaming of the park. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Jason, what would you like to do? Actually, we have one more question from Glenn Bailey. Glenn?
Yeah, just in terms of, the time period after June 20th until your card is reactivated July 1, is obviously something you're thinking about. But what you could do at your June meeting, assuming you approve your 2022-23 budget at your June meeting, you could then make a similar motion to authorize expenditures. And assuming your card gets reactivated on July 1st, like it's supposed to, in case the event happens to fall, after July 1st, then you'd have that ability. So that's just one way to do it. So you've really got a 10-day gap, and hopefully you're given advance notice such that if it didn't happen between June 20th and July 1st, that you have enough notice to go ahead and make the purchase out of this fiscal year, assuming you move with this. I'm just pointing out the way we've done things.
Thank you, Glenn. Hilda?
I just want to say on a positive note, I know few neighbors or in that same neighborhood, and they're very excited about renaming the park. So it's really positive. It's going to enhance the neighborhood, and I think it's really good. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilda. Jason, it's back to you.
Well, we've approved 350 already. So, the question is more, do we want to increase,
You want to make the motion and see how it goes?
I mean, I can make the motion for like 1,000. How do you guys feel about the amount? I mean, I don't know. It's just for food and refreshments. Nobody has any other ideas. We have money for outreach items, so, but I don't know that we're going to be doing that. Would just be nice to maybe give something out to the community. Go ahead. We got some more comments.
Multiple hands up again. Brandy?
I don't think the amount is the issue. I think the timing is the issue. So I don't.
The timing means what? Like, what do you mean by timing?
Because we don't, even if we approve this now and then later it's going to go past our fiscal year probably before anything happens, and maybe they'll have a huge grant and we want to revisit this. I just don't think, I think ultimately I'll vote for an increase, but I don't think that today is the right day to vote for it. I think we just need to wait and kind of see what happens when we get closer to the actual thing happening.
Oh yeah, we could, yeah, I mean, that's fine, because we could, when is our meeting in June? It's gonna be.
It is on June 8th. We can always have a special meeting as well. So.
Yeah, that would just mean we'd have a special meeting if we found out, in a short order, but it sounds like it's still going through the board process. So I wouldn't expect anything maybe in the next few weeks, but yeah, I'm okay with moving this to the to the June agenda.
That's what I would do.
I think it's okay. I mean, I think, we're still kind of waiting on
Thanks,
things.
Jason.
With the
Thank you,
council.
David. Balin?
Thank you for the consideration to the June. I just really want to hear from the council member's office on what they would like for us to support. If they want us to support $500 or $1,000, they'll give us direction on what they really need. I think we're jumping way ahead. And once again, like Brandy mentioned, this is, or even Colin, he said we're in flux. We don't know exactly when things are going to start happening. And I really would like for us to kind of, I understand we've agreed to do the 350, but let's see what they really want from us. They might not. They might say, you know what, we've got it covered. Just show up. Give us your support. Not two or three people show up. Let's get the entire, neighborhood council come and share and really support this. ET Park. We've always called it ET Park, but this is going to be a fun event, a big event for the community. So I hope that, hopefully it's not one or two people show up. I hope the entire neighborhood council shows up, but I would like to see this thing held off to our next June meeting and at least go with what is directed by the council member for support. They might not dig in our pockets. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I have to, disagree. I think it's a nice gesture when a neighborhood council can come and bring something to the table in terms of, everybody's going to do their part, and that's how we've always done things.
And we do, Jason. That we always do. But we do when we've done events. We bring out. Walmart supports us. Why wouldn't I knock on Walmart's door for all the drinks that you want, all the ice that you want, all the food that you want? And they support it, and then we're not digging into our pockets. But if you want to do that, then that's fine. I just disagree as well.
The councilman's office is going to say, "Hey, can you guys?" They've never done that. It's like they got deeper pockets than we do. But anyways, I just kind of have a different perspective on that. I think we should be proactive in what we do to support an event. I think we should come up with our own ideas and not wait for the council office to tell us what they need, because they have their own resources, and I think we should bring to these events, to the cleanups, to whatever we do, we should try
and Jason, to reiterate, that's what we've done in the past, so you know that.
Keep it going like that. All right. Anyways.
Thank you.
Do what you want.
I'm gonna table it.
Table it. Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Let's take a 2-minute break and let's be back at 8:12 to finish the rest. Thank you, everyone.
We need halftime music.
You want to sing for us, Becky?
Batter up. Let's go. We're taking the afternoon off.
All right, board, is everyone here? I see 4 of us, everybody else 5. Any other board members here?
I'm back.
6. We do have a quorum. We can move
I'm
on.
back too.
Thank you. Awesome. Awesome. Let's go to item number 14. It's a motion to approve March 24, 2022 special meeting draft minutes. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. Oh, go ahead.
Who seconded?
Hilda.
Hilda second, 1 second.
Not me, but I'll second it. It's okay. It's fine.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Okay, so that was the meeting for the bylaws. Were the actual bylaws included as part of the minutes? Can you pull them up in the
Here, it's right here. Oh, I'm not sharing screen, huh? One
yeah,
second.
let's just do that. But I'll check, but I didn't quite get through them all. I was trying to read everything, but
I know
because don't they don't we need to put the actual, can you go all the way down? Like
the actual bylaws are not on this.
But I think that's appropriate because this whole meeting, how do we know what we voted on? Didn't we vote at the end of this meeting?
Yes, we did.
Okay, so what do we vote on?
Basically all the changes are listed here. And we voted. If you want, I can table this till next month and I can attach both the bylaws.
Yeah, I think it needs to be very clear what we voted on. So like after the where the motion is, okay, see right there, yeah, at the end. It should have the official text that we approved.
Okay, I got note taker with a question. Go ahead. Can I authorize you? Marie? or Mary?
It's Marie.
Yes.
Hi, I'm sorry, which item were we on? And you guys went really fast. Oh, I'm
Sorry,
confused.
we're on item number 14.
Oh, we are on
approving-
14.
Yeah, approving the special meeting draft minutes.
Okay, and so who was the person who was?
Gabriel made the motion, Hilda seconded it, and we are discussing to possibly table it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandy, you have something to say?
Yeah, minor change is
Yes.
in multiple spots in the minutes. My name is misspelled.
Thank you.
It's spelled with a Y instead of 2 I in like several places.
Gotcha.
Thanks.
I'll take care of that. So Jason, would you like the table for next month?
Well, yeah, I think we need to request that the minute taker include the draft of what's being approved.
I have it. I can add on to it. For next
Okay,
week.
perfect. Yeah, I think that because like for me, it was hard to read through the minutes and not have that to reference.
Okay.
I think it should all be built into one thing.
One second, I'll make notes here for that.
Would you agree, Voss? You're the bylaws chair.
Yes, I do.
Good.
So the two change there, the name, Brandy's name changes all throughout the minutes, and to add the bylaws we voted on to the minutes, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so I'll move to table this motion till June. Okay. Thank you. Let's go to item number 15. Voss, floor is yours. Read the motion, please.
Okay. This motion is to fund the Congress of Neighborhoods 2022. And as you are all aware, this Los Angeles Congress of Neighborhoods is a yearly event. And this aims to help neighborhood council leaders obtain the tools and establish the relationships they need to build a successful future for their communities. It brings together leaders from the city of Los Angeles, 99 neighborhood councils for a day of networking and education. Traditionally an in-person event held at Los Angeles City Hall, the Congress moved to a digital format in 2022 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And it will be an online event again this year. And as you are aware, online events do require funding too. Some of the expenses for this year include the Congress website, Zoom licenses, language interpretation services, and event outreach and promotion. The Congress is made possible by contribution from neighborhood council, and I ask you to fund the Congress LA 2022 with $500 contribution. And city clerk allows for neighborhood council to make direct contribution to the Congress of Neighborhood event. And please support to make this year's event a success by approving my motion to fund the Congress.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you and thank you. Any questions for Voss?
Who seconded? I'm sorry, I was typing.
It was David Balin.
Thank you.
I have a question from Glenn Bailey. Floor is yours.
Yes, Glenn Bailey, speaking as an individual. So I appreciate the consideration of a contribution to the Congress, but I would be remiss if I didn't express to you my concerns about the way that the Congress Planning Committee is operating by not following its operating procedures that were adopted for the formation of the decisions, how when they vote to make certain decisions like spending the money. So the most recent example was last month. They voted on to decide on the theme for the Congress, and they had multiple nominations, and there were 13 voting people, and there were the top vote getters were 5 votes for one, and 3 votes for another, and 3 votes for another with 2 abstentions. The operating procedures clearly state that any decisions made by the Congress Planning Committee must be by a majority vote. 5 out of 13 is not a majority. They acknowledged and have stated that they made a mistake, that it was wrong and in violation, and yet the executive committee refused. They actually had a vote and refused to put it on the agenda to do so again. So again, I'm supportive of any contributions to Congress, but I want you to know that when they make decisions to spend that money, it needs to be by a majority vote. So make sure that there's support, and there's 32 voting members. So to have decisions made by only 5 is of concern to me. So I just wanted to share that with you, and thanks for listening.
Thank you, Glenn. Jason?
So what happened with the check? Because were we not recognized for the last contribution because they didn't cash the check? Is that what happened? Because I didn't see the program, but I just wanted to get a clarification.
I think they have some own problem, and there are other checks also which have not been deposited, and they are working out on that. That's why they did not have a clear answer when I asked them, but they are working on this one.
Yeah, it's like a little concerning because they're not doing the outreach that they're supposed to do for us.
Yeah, because maybe because of this ongoing pandemic, also things are going slow, and there may be some problems they are facing. I will try to find out in the next meeting, that is on June 4.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Glenn?
I answered Jason. Jason, neighborhood councils were recognized even if the checks were not cashed, if we were aware of them. So may I suggest, in terms of your specific question, if you go to the Congress website, and if you look at the sponsors and just look to see if Porter Ranch was listed for the last Congress, it may have been that even though the check didn't get cashed, that they picked it up because it had been approved. In other words, submitted. The payment had been submitted and approved. And that is actually how we build that list. So sorry, I wasn't fast enough to pull that up, but I would be willing to bet that Porter Ranch was on the list because we did check to see about any payments submitted. And that's what we go by, not by whether the check got cashed.
If I remember correctly, the Porter name was there in the recognized list of Congress who have contributed. And this was, I think, if I don't remember correctly, I think it was a silver or something status also. Like there are different levels. 500 is a silver level. Can you correct me, Glenn?
I think you're right. It's the second level, so I think you're right.
Yeah, $500.
So that was my question, Voss. You're not sure then if we were recognized? You don't know?
Yeah, no, it was recognized, and it will take some time to go through that document, but I remember Porter name was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I was asking, if we were recognized.
We were recognized. I saw the name of that one, and I will reconfirm at the next meeting also.
Okay.
But it is, I checked that one. Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Brandy?
Yeah, honestly, this thing with the check kind of concerns me. Like, are we then going to reissue? And then if we approved also contributing this year, we're actually spending $1,000 of our dollars out of this year's budget because they messed up with the check, and then like maybe they'll mess up again. I don't know. I kind of feel like if you didn't take our money last time, maybe I don't want to do it this round and wait around, because like it sounds like we're already going to be giving you $500 this round anyway because you missed out on it last round. So I don't know. I normally would be very supportive of this, but just because of this weird kerfuffle, it makes me feel like maybe skip a round. That's my
no, actually, Brandy, we were recognized, and that recognition was based on the payment which was made, and it is only a replacement of a check. And we are not going to make it a new one, but new one is only for this year's Congress. And they have their problem. They are working out on that one. And the expenses were there. They still have to pay the vendors also. So they will pay this one, and they will use this check also from the last year also.
But if we're reissuing the check, that means we're paying twice out of the same fiscal budget.
Not twice. The same check. The check has already been issued. It is in their accounts. It is just a replacement of a check because that expired after 6 months.
But was the $500 deducted from our amount already?
No, it is not deducted. It is like motion was made, funds are available. They are there in our this one, but they are issued for the last Congress, 2021. And
So
they have already recognized that one, and they are recognized only once the contribution is made.
So if they haven't deducted it from our amount and we're reissuing a check, they're going to deduct it this time. But then if we make a $500 contribution for this year, they're going to deduct another 500, and that's 1,000 for this year.
But the previous one will be going to the expenses of the last year's expenses, not this year's expenses.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Randy, if they cut the check, they took the money out of our account when they cut the check, I would think, last year.
No, because it's still, okay, if you look at our financial report, it says cash available 24,000. That's available because those checks haven't cleared.
Okay, so
we have quite a few checks that
whether
haven't
we, but
cleared.
one way or the other, for last year and this year, we're going to pay a total of $1,000. And if it's still there, if it wasn't taken out last year, was just carried over, it's kind of it's kind of 6 1 half dozen of the other, isn't it?
Because that event already took place, right? So they already paid their vendors. All that money's already been spent for that event. You know, now if 1,000 goes, it's going to end up going towards the next year's event.
Excuse me, given Glenn the benefit of the doubt, he usually has an important insight. Maybe he's got his hand up.
Yeah, Glenn, go ahead, Glenn.
Okay, so the Congress contributions cross fiscal years because it basically any contributions that come in after the previous Congress and prior to the next Congress, which are always held the end of September, those are what is recognized on the website and also during the opening session of the Congress and then when we're in person on the printed program. So the fact that you made a contribution in July of last year, even though the check didn't ever get cashed, that recognition was done. But it appears you probably voted for that at your July board meeting, is my guess. And it was for, to benefit and be recognized for the 2021 Congress in September. Now you're looking at, and by all rights, that check should have been cashed, before the September Congress. Now you're looking at another contributions. It happens to be the same fiscal year, but as the other one, but it's leading up to the 2022 Congress, and recognition would be given, at the September 22 Congress for this new contribution. I will beg to differ respectfully with Jason, and that is that when you have the ability in your portal to encumber monies, which basically just means you've set it aside, and I think you've done that for your outreach, if I read your MER correctly. But the other thing that shows up on your MER is outstanding. Outstanding, you saw those outstanding checks, this one and Castle Bay,
right.
Checks that hadn't cleared. Those outstanding checks are deducted from your total amount available because the city clerk wants to make sure you in fact have the money. You can't, overspend. So
I wasn't saying the money available. I was saying when I go to the dashboard here, there's two numbers. There's 24,000 and there's 9,000. There's net available 9,000. Yes, it's taken from there, but it says cash balance 24,000. You understand? Cash balance 24,000. So that stuff hasn't cleared. There's stuff that hasn't cleared.
Right, but you don't. Right, but you go by when you put in a payment request, it tells you on the portal how much money you have available. So if you wanted to write a check for 24,000, it's going to tell you that you don't have 24,000 available because your encumbrance, your commitment. Sorry, if I used the wrong terminology. Your commitments, I guess, is what you've put in, right? The 9,500. The pending payments, the 5,247.09. That's checks that haven't been cashed yet.
Right. Well, let's try and get back to the motion, but anyways.
Yeah. So anyway, the important thing is that, and one last thing, the money that's in the Congress account, unlike neighborhood councils, it stays in that account until it's used. So year after year after year, that money is in the account until it's needed. So there might be money in that account from 2019 that neighbor councils have contributed, and it's just waiting. It's basically first in, first out. So that's how they account for it. So while there is currently a surplus there of I'm not sure it's 15,000 or 20,000, it's not enough to do an in-person Congress, which costs about 50,000. So that's one reason that even though virtual Congresses are less expensive, they do need to build up the account to about at least 50,000 to be able to afford in person. So your money will, every neighbor council's money stays in that account until it's actually spent.
Thank you, Glenn. We have a motion. We have a second. Becky, do you want to call a vote?
I will. David Lasher,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yeah.
Hilda Sarkisian,
Yes.
Jason Hector,
Yes.
Luis Ramirez,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Becky Levesque, Brandy Grace,
Yeah, okay.
okay, and Jennifer Abraham,
Yes.
and Voss Singh,
Yes.
Christine Demertian,
Yes.
and Gabriel Conlian.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous,
Becky.
it passes.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you, everyone.
Let's go to item number 16 real quick. Discussion and possible action to approve either $150 for a quarter page ad, $250 for half page ad, or $500 for a full page ad in the program directory of the Chatsworth Porter Ranch Chambers Unforgettable Awards event taking place on May 19, 2022. It's the same event that Tara mentioned a few minutes ago. Let me pull up a few things real quick. 1 second. All right, this is the email I had received. Can everybody see it?
Yes.
This is the email explaining exactly what the event is and the ad space. I believe we have contributed to this in the past. My suggestion personally will be the $150 quarter page ad, which we already have that we use on our videos on YouTube. We can use something similar, straightforward like that. This event is open to the public, but there is a small fee. I think it's like $40 a person or something like that if you want to attend it. But the advertising that we will be we're voting for is for everyone to see. And then there is a teacher from Porter Ranch Community School that will be honored at this event. The second flyer. And here are the teachers that are being honored at this event. As you see, we have Porter Ranch Community School, we have Granada High School, and we have Sierra Canyon. That's very local to us. And here are the teachers as well. Now, the question would be, which ad price would we go for? I want to see if we can have some hands up to speak. I see Becky. Becky, the floor is yours.
Well, my question is, what kind of, well, first of all, it is the Porter Ranch and Chatsworth.
Correct, they're together.
But the thing is the event is it's a week away, and today's the 11th, and the event is on the 19th. What kind of publicity are we going to get from this?
It's going to be in the catalog, their newsletter catalog that they're going to be passing out the day of.
Oh, it's the day of, and then
Correct.
will we be able to put up our banner or anything like that?
No, I have not been able. This happened so last minute.
I know that's
So-
my concern.
Correct.
It's pretty close call because like, is this a credit card payment or?
Yes, they will accept credit card. I asked them already. It's very close.
What's the deadline for me for the printing?
They said everything has to be submitted by the 13th, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the Friday.
So we have 2 days.
Yeah.
So we already have, I was thinking about just using the basic
Not a
logo
happy
ad we have
treasurer.
that we use on our YouTube videos. But at the end of the day, it's up to the board.
Yeah.
Well, I think it'd be really nice if they gave us like a month or two more of a notice next time.
I agree.
Just a comment.
Yeah. I don't like being, under the gun. We got to get all this in the next, 2 days? So
Correct.
I got to figure.
We have to pay. They can bill us, they said, or we have to pay, but the ad has to be submitted by the 13th.
Oh, okay. Well, that's better. So I don't need to pay by then necessarily.
No.
Well, it's doable. I could, if they send a credit card payment form or, well, you have the credit card now, Gabriel.
I have it, correct.
Yeah. I'm jumping out of turn. I'll wait my turn because Brandy and.
No, there's quite a few questions I see.
Go ahead.
1 second. Let's go
Question,
to.
but I don't know if
Becky.
anybody has an answer.
Becky, were you?
Oh, no, I don't.
we done?
Lower my hand. I'm good.
Okay, Brandy, go ahead.
Yeah, so aside from the very short time frame and the fact that this is specific, from what I'm reading, this is specifically going in the program. It's not going to be
Correct.
advertised anywhere else, which means we're limited to only being seen by the people who actually show up.
Right.
I don't have any idea how many people are going to show up to this thing. And B, even though it's public, like you said, there's a fee to attend.
Correct.
So that brings up questions for me as to whether that really qualifies as a public event sufficiently because you have to pay to go. So I'm not even sure if we're.
They do approve that because it's a workaround by advertising, because we're doing an advertisement. You know,
Okay.
if we were like paying for event venue stuff, it wouldn't fly.
Okay.
Because
But
they
the ad
charge.
they'll allow.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if 10 people are going to show up, 110 people are going to show up, 1,000 people are going to show up. I don't know. I assume it's going to be fairly small. I do like the fact that, there's a teacher from our school that's coming. So for that reason, I might say, okay, but not for anything more than the smallest amount. But I'm even then kind of iffy about this whole thing.
That's exactly the reason why I brought the motion, is because we have teachers locally that are getting awards. But as I said, at the end of the day, I am pro the small
Exactly.
amount as well, the quarter page, but ultimately it's up to the board. Let's see, Jason?
No, Hilda's next.
Oh, Hilda?
Okay, I do believe we need to participate at least with the 150, just to show our face, show our name, that we're there, we're supporting them. I think I would agree for 150. I think it's fair because they didn't give us much time and it's almost the end of the year and we need to support. So our face should be there. So when I say our face, our name,
I agree. Thank you. Jason?
Does anybody plan on attending? I know it's like 40-50 bucks or whatever, but
I am planning on attending, but I have not purchased my tickets yet.
okay.
I have an event that evening, which I'm hosting myself and it was planned and I can't make it that night. It's exactly the same time.
Yeah. No, I might go. It sounds like we're going to support this, and I think it's important for us to show up.
Sure.
Too. So if
I would have.
I would have. Well, we got it. We got your back, Hilda. I know you're in. Okay, I agree with everyone.
Thank you. Next, so we have also Jason, you commented already. Any other public comments? So it seems like we want to go with the quarter page ad, which will be the easiest for me, just submitting what we have already. I'll make a motion to approve $150 for a quarter page ad for the
I'll second it.
Chatsworth Porter Ranch Chamber Unforgettable Awards. Hilda seconded it.
Yes.
Thank you. Becky, you want to call the vote?
Yes, Mr. President. David Lasher,
Yes.
David Balin,
Yeah.
Hilda Sarkisian.
Yes.
Jason Hector,
Yes.
Luis Ramirez,
Yes.
and Becky Levesque is a yes. Brandy Grace,
Yes.
Jennifer,
Yes.
okay, and Voss,
Yes.
Singh, and Christine Demercian,
Yes.
and Gabriel.
Yes,
Okay.
and motion passes for
Another
107.
unanimous vote.
Thank you. Next item is, let me get rid of this right here. All right, next item is discussion and possible action to write a letter declaring that PRNC does not support the proposed Brookfield 350 unit apartment building and 6-story adjacent tenant use only parking structure at the Northridge Fashion Square. Just want to make a quick, I think Andrew's here to make a presentation real quick, but just want to say that I know we received over 80 emails yesterday and today from the Carpenters Local Union 661. We do appreciate all the emails, but none of the emails were addressing the project themselves in question, nor were they for a stand on the project other than compensation packages, which the board has no control over or has any say. The motion today is whether or not the board would like to move forward with writing a letter of no support on the project based on the information provided today. So we did receive, as I said, over 80 emails, but there were from the Carpenters Local Union 661 discussing something completely out of our region, and we have no control over pay and compensation and health insurance and etc. I see Josh has a question, but before Josh, David Balin.
Gabriel, can you pull up the letter or any, is there a presentation from the developer?
Yes, Andrew should have it.
We don't know anything about this project.
Yeah, well,
It's been presented for us to take a stand on yet.
But they don't have a representative? The developer doesn't have a representative? I know it's late.
I want to see what Josh C is. 1 second. Let me ask Josh. Josh, are you a stakeholder or a representative from?
I'm a representative from the Carpenters.
Oh, you are? Okay, perfect. Perfect.
From the Carpenters
So Gabriel, where's the point of order? I was called on and Jason and Becky and everybody jumped in. Where's the point of order?
Thank you. David, go ahead real quick and I'll bring both.
Thank you. Okay, first off, I don't believe the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council can take a position on this until we hear from the developer. Second off, it's not even in our community per se. And you know what, we do need, indirectly, we do need to listen to the builder and the community to get both sides before we can even take a side. Thank you.
Well, they are both here. Thank you, David. They are both here, and hopefully they both represent the project. Any other further questions before we allow Josh and Andrew to speak? All right, let's start with Josh. Let him explain the project, and then we'll go to Andrew with the following commentary. Go ahead, Josh.
So my name is Josh Christensen from the San Fernando Valley. I represent workers that live and recreate and religious attend religious churches in the area of Porter Ranch, neighborhood council areas. And the purpose of my coming to the neighborhood council today is just to explain a little bit about these projects that are happening in the areas around Porter Ranch. You have a lot of mixed use buildings that are coming through who are using contractors who cheat workers. And what I mean by cheating workers is low pay. Usually the workers don't have papers, so the contractors doesn't have to pay taxes on them, doesn't pay workman's comp, so that when workers get hurt, which we see on a daily basis, go to the doctor and get the services they need to get stable, and then they get booted out. Here's the thing. In the state of California, there was a study that came through last June by Cal Berkeley, and it's talking about the financial burden that a taxpayer has on the residential construction. Every year, because of residential construction and those types of conditions that I just explained, the California taxpayer pays $3 billion a year in services such as healthcare for those workers, through county services, healthcare through county services. You got food stamps through the state, and that shows where all that money's been going. That our tax dollars are going to is through these residential projects workers. We feel that these workers, whether they're union or not, deserve a fair wage, a wage where they can live in the community, reside in the community, spend their money in the community, and also have a health care. So it takes away from a legitimate contractor when these other contractors come in and cheat these workers. We're not helping the system. Affordable housing. These folks can't even afford to live in affordable housing, and they're building affordable housing, or they're building market rate housing. And so that's our issue with this project and other projects in the area. Is we're asking that if you do write a letter of support or not support, we ask that you put a little note in there saying, hey, but if it ever does go through, we support area standard wages. That's how we're asking. Area standard wages, which includes healthcare, benefits, follow the state laws at least. We talked with these workers and we've asked, why don't we come through and talk to the authorities? They said, if I talk to the authorities, I've been threatened with deportation. So that's a system that we're going through. It's a form of human trafficking in the construction industry in California, in Southern California, in the Porter Ranch district. And that's my comments. I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Josh. I'm gonna bring in Andrew right now with the presentation real quick, and we can move forward from there. Andrew, are you here?
I'm here. Good evening. I'm going to share screens here. Did that work? Are you guys now seeing a prospectus of the project?
Yes, we do.
See that?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Okay, great. Good evening. So I've heard already from a couple of board members, you're not sure what this project is. So let me spend just a moment and going over the materials actually provided by Brookfield. These materials were provided to Northridge West Neighborhood Council. Brookfield has only sought input from Northridge West Neighborhood Council, which is the council in which this project would reside. However, I would remind all the board members that as members of LA City, you have the right and the ability to make a comment on a project anywhere located in the city. And as your stakeholders are obviously heavy users of the Northridge Fashion Center, I think this is important that the council weighs in. And I actually will provide you some statistics regarding Porter Ranch, some stakeholder feedback. So this is, again, just the outline of the project. This is the mall as you already know it. This is the western second story entrance. I'm gonna go pretty quickly. I know it's pretty late. Here is a map of the mall property in totality, as well as where the apartment building would go. I'm not going to dwell on this. I have this map and enlarged in my presentation to you. This will be a little clearer to see. The point is, it goes in the northwestern parking lot on the corner of Plummer and Shirley. Okay, that's a larger scale view. And again, I have this in my presentation with the number of issues that have been raised about this project. So the project in totality is 350 unit apartment complex. These are all market rate apartments only. You see 92 studios, 176 one bedrooms, and 82 two bedrooms. These are not really family units. And again, there's no low income or affordable housing options on site. They are building a 6-story parking structure that will be for tenant use only. The parking is an issue which I'll address in my presentation. And the project is currently in site review. My wife Jennifer and I are the two individuals who have appeals for this project. And I'll go into some further details about why. They're using the benefits that it's going to be a Silver Leaf project. That's great. They reference that they do solar on the mall, not what they're going to do on this new project. They talk about the aesthetic design. What I want to kind of bring to you here is there's really nothing to benefit the community here. And that was a major point of contention with another council. This doesn't improve walkability. This creates another very tall structure on Shirley, which is a street that's lined only with very tall structures, as you guys may know. We talk about safety and pedestrian. The point is it's 350 units, 5 stories, 6-story adjacent apartment building, to be parking structure, all market rate parking. Those are the highlights in terms of the project. And I'll let you sit on this for just a moment. You can see the layout with the 3 courtyards and the adjacent parking structure.
Andrew, this is the paperwork from the builder, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like a 40 megabyte PDF. It's huge. Unfortunately, I couldn't send it to you guys. But yes, this is all provided by Brookfield. Now, if I may, I'm going to run a slide presentation, at least I'm attempting to. Okay, great. So again, this is the project at 9450 North Shirley. Again, the corner of Shirley Avenue and Plummer, right across from the Plaza de Northridge, which is where the Super King and the DSW are. Okay, again, 350 unit, 5-story apartment building, adjoining tenant use only parking structure, market rate apartments only. This picture here, you can kind of see that is the existing parking lot. You can see how much of this lot is going to be repurposed for this project. I estimate that about 70%. These issues have been raised not only by individual community members, but also by Northridge West Neighborhood Council Plus committee members, of which I'm one, as well as the board as a whole. The overall project size and the additional consumer stress due to the parking shortfalls is a huge issue. The parking overflow into adjacent neighborhoods, which has already been an issue as reported by those residents, is an issue. We are losing 2 driveways, one driveway on Shirley and one driveway on Plummer. And that will affect the ability for emergency responders to get into the mall, should they need to be called. That's a 50% reduction of ingress and egress in that particular area of the mall. There is significant concern about the stress on LAPD and LAFD, as within 1 mile of this proposed development are another 1,000 units that's about 450 in the Cemetery project, located next to Lowe's on Nordhoff, right across the street, as well as the project on Winnetka, just south of Plummer. And the stress that LAPD and LAFD will have to endure, they are already short of funds, short of staff, and we are adding very high density housing into these areas. We are also adding strain on our water system, which, as you know, we have very significant water restrictions coming next month, and we are trying to bring more people into this area. There's a concern for lack of adequate handicap parking in this area, in this whole northern area of the mall. There have been security concerns for the first floor balcony units within the apartment complex, as there is a 0-foot setback for this project. So that means it will butt pretty much right up against the sidewalk. We've got general traffic and safety concerns for all of the adjoining streets. That's Shirley Avenue, Plummer, Prairie, and Nordhoff. There are already significant community concerns being voiced regarding Nordhoff, Shirley, and Plummer because of the Cemetery project and because of the mall. As you know, on Shirley, there's just a single stop sign in between Nordhoff and Plummer. You're also aware that the Porto's Bakery has recently opened. It's wildly popular and has created new traffic concerns. For those who don't know, the Pacific Fashion 10, the movie theater, was bought by AMC and is due to reopen here in the spring. And the Macaroni Grill, which still sits vacant, is slated to becoming Longhorn Steakhouse. Okay. There are significant pedestrian safety concerns at the corner of Shirley and Plummer. There was talk about putting a pedestrian bridge over Shirley. That's not possible. There's been Brookfield was open to a high visibility crosswalk. I just personally don't think that's enough. I watched another high visibility crosswalk at Mason Park on Mason, north of Devonshire. It's got 2 blinking lights that can be activated, and I watch people almost get hit in that crosswalk all the time. The fact is, they just don't do the job. There was a concern and a request for shade trees to be planted and maintained by Brookfield to help green the area. The lack of walkability is an issue. That's not just limited to the shade trees, but bike lanes and other accessibility options to the mall. And then the community utilizes this lot, as you can see by the photo, for the Valley Preparedness Fair. The county has also used this lot for COVID testing. When the county took over almost the entire lot to do COVID testing. So this is a very valuable land, and not only to the retailers in the mall, but to the community as well. So this picture, let me talk about the parking. That's, I think, one of the major issues that Brookfield is really overlooking. They did an analysis during COVID. So they were down a restaurant, down a movie theater. This is a real picture taken on a Sunday evening. Okay. This is now the overlay with that picture of the boundaries of the project. Okay. So in this picture on a random Sunday, which I frequent the mall probably 4 days a week with my family, and I drive by it almost every evening. This is a bit of a light day in terms of utilization. There are 205 cars parked in that lot at the time of this picture. The parking stalls that would be available after they did this project, and does not include how much more land they would take up to actually build the project, is 162. I'm sure most of you don't know that the capacity of the movie theaters is 2,800 people. And using a very conservative average of 4 patrons per vehicle once that theater opens, that's an additional demand of parking in this specific area of the mall of about 700 spots. So the parking shortfall in the whole northwestern area, which is where most of the food vendors, the restaurants are, and the theater, are almost 750 spots. Where are those people going to park? And are those people going to be satisfied parking as far away as they're going to need to and still frequent this area, still frequent these vendors? I believe no. Unfortunately, we're a very lazy population. Here's just a couple of random photos showing, in fact, this lot is used a lot, even without the movie theater. This is incredibly important. So now, why should you guys be concerned? Really? Petition's been running for a couple of weeks now. As you can see, there's over 650 signatures. You can see the breakdown. Porter Ranch residents are the second largest participants in this at 14%. The overwhelming sentiment is that nobody wants this project the way it looks now. It's too large, it's too obtrusive. There are way too many concerns about way too many things to approve and support this project as it currently sits. Northridge West Neighborhood Council, as I alluded to, has heard. The council had 3 meetings with the developer. Members of the community met with the developer. I've met with the developer. We have tried to talk issues through, and the fact is that the Northridge West Plus Committee did not support the project, and their board unanimously concurred and unanimously did not support the project the way it was currently presented a list of the issues and invited them to be open to compromise and to come back. And to date, I can tell you that there's been no further communication from Brookfield. They are just moving forward on the path that they are on. Yeah. There's been sentiment, there's been articles and some postings on Facebook and Nextdoor. If you guys are active on those platforms, I'm sure you've seen them. The overwhelming sentiment is against the project the way it is now. Period. End of story. It's north of 85% to the negative. There just isn't support for this project. So, yes, that's me. I reached out before the May 5th Planning Commission hearing because we don't want to just be a pain in Brookfield's side. We don't want to just hold up some manner of development. And as you can see here, what I offered was that if they were open to real discussion and real compromise about the items the community had brought them, that I would certainly spend the time to help, and that we would like to get to a place where we would support this project. Their response was just no, they're not open really to any major changes whatsoever in the project. So I tried on behalf of the several hundred people who had commented. We tried. So the request is, please, board, do not support this project. And if the language is you do not support the project in its current form, that's great too. Again, the sentiment is there needs to be more public discussion. The notice radius for this project was very small. The fact is almost no one knew about it. If you were not on social media, you really didn't know about it. So re-engage the public, compromise on the project size, and let's come up with something that really does work both for Brookfield as well as for the community. So too many outstanding issues that demand action. The community sentiment is very much against, and we already have one neighborhood council against. I can tell you that there are other neighborhood councils that surround the mall that will be hearing this topic in the coming couple of months. So it's not just Porter Ranch and Northridge West. And that's it. Thank you so much for the time. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. And Gabriel, back to you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Jason, you have your hand up?
Yeah. What I'd like to know, and this is probably a city planning question, but there's a representative, I'm sure, at city planning on this file. All this parking was required for the movie theater when the mall was approved. And the additional parking, I think there's a US Bank right there. And I'm very familiar with the area, and Fridays, Saturday nights, it gets very busy there. So how do they take away parking that was required? This is a city planning question again, and I would encourage calling them and asking them if they take away, how can they take away this parking if that was part of the condition of approving this movie theater? Those spaces are for the movie theater and for all the restaurants in this area. So you can't just take out parking that's required as part of a previously approved project. And also you're going to have, there's a lot of good points you made, but you're going to have people who are who can't fit in the parking lot for this project and are going to park next to it. So there's going to be some spillover effect because, you're going to have more people than can fit in their parking lot at certain times. And, it just doesn't seem like it can handle obviously 300 units, but even 100 units, because you can't take that parking away from the movie theater, So that's all.
Thank you, Jason. Brandy?
Okay, so for starters, I am absolutely 100% in agreement and fully support the carpenter union's position. As a former union leader, I am well aware of how drastic wage theft is in the construction industry, and I agree that any letter we write absolutely should include a statement on ensuring fair and legal wages in any construction that does happen to move forward. On the project itself, I agree with Jason. I think I have serious parking concerns. But even beyond that, so the government does not offer very solid annual vacancy data. The estimates are vague and difficult because of that. So we need to have that information, but we don't. But what was estimated for the vacancy rate in LA housing before the pandemic, the vacancy rate was so high that we could have placed each and every unhoused individual that was counted in the last homelessness count into one of those vacancies and still had thousands of vacancies left over. The vacancy rate estimates have dropped since the pandemic. And again, we don't have great data, so who knows how honestly accurate those are. But the truth is that there is a very, very real possibility that when this project is finished, most of those apartments, especially considering how small they are, could just sit vacant. So, if this was affordable housing, it might be worth the trouble. We do need affordable housing, but these are not that. These are luxury market rate apartments that are super tiny and super expensive, that disrupt the community, cause all these potential parking and other issues for seemingly no good reason. So, and to Balin's point, yeah, I think we should be able to hear from the developers, but then if the community members and the unions could show up today, I don't know why the developers couldn't. So, I get to vote today on this because we're talking about this publicly today, and I'm not for the current iteration of this project. So those are my points.
Thank you, Brandy. David Lasher.
Thank you. On the union aspect, have you heard of the $831,000 studio apartments for the homeless? The overwhelming reason that Prop HHH units are literally upwards of $700,000 and as high as $831,000 for a single apartment was because of all the union requirements they built into the bill, guaranteed union employees and all that. There are existing laws in terms of wage theft and construction issues. Those laws should be enforced. We shouldn't just guarantee a certain portion of the population these jobs. That's absurd. In terms of that property, my son works at the mall. I'm down there 3 or 4 nights a week, either dropping him off or picking him up. And that is an absurd footprint. I mean, that's 70% of the entire property. They're going to tell you to the park, and they're going to tell you the garage next door is where the movie theater would go. But you have to park there and go through a small easement about a 4-foot wide alley by Buffalo Wild Wings. That's not going to cover it. That's not going to do it. And wow, I'm surprised. I'm frustrated, and it's wrong that there's a first. I'm hearing about this with a family member that works literally in that parking lot. I park in that lot, again, 3 or 4 nights a week to get him down there for his job. It's stunning. And then lastly, the housing is certainly needed. I don't know how we keep building units at the same time when we have this lack of water in the area. I'm really frustrated that I keep seeing self-storage units being built. Why is city planning allowing numerous endless self-storage units all over the valley when they scream and complain about the lack of housing? That's insane to me. Like, this project's absurd for its location and everything else. And that's what I had to say.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Now, David Balin.
Okay, perfect. So, I think before we make a decision as a board to be pro or against this, I think we should really do our homework. Was the builder asked to come and speak? Gabriel?
The builder was not asked to come and speak, but the word out there because as we got all the emails.
Okay, so I think we should have the builder come out. I think it'd be really great to see, what their position would be with the parking, what their vision is. Both you, myself, Becky, we all sit on CPAB. I'd love to see the position from LAPD, what they think about this, because some of the things that were said I don't really know if that's really how LAPD or LAFD feels about this this building. I'd like to also hear, maybe if Colin's still here, what the position is from our councilman, John Lee. I want to see what his position is on this. I mean, there's a lot of things a lot of variables before we just jump on a bandwagon to really understand what the community has. And I personally, I haven't spoken to any community members that agree or disagree about this. I'm all about housing. I'm all about putting a roof over people's heads because we have so little. And I agree, we need housing that is accessible to all. But I would really like to hear the other variables and find out what the position is before I personally would make a decision on this on behalf of the neighborhood council. And if we did take a position tonight, I would probably ask for my name to be left off of it because I don't think we have enough information. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Hilda?
Yes, I totally agree with David. And if you're asking me, it's a beautiful building. I think it's going to enhance the area, the location. We need housing. As a realtor, I'm talking, because we don't have enough for our young kids to live or rent, or even our community. I think, first of all, it's too early to find out what's going to happen. I did speak with many of their tenants over there. We all know it's not going to happen overnight. The city has to approve it. Yes, the parking is an issue, but if it was an issue, city would not give them permits and they cannot build. They just can't build. So we do need to hear from the locals. We do need to hear from the, not as much from the builder, but our community, and to see if this is the right thing. I feel if you are going to vote, I'm going to be out as well because I'm really for it. But again, by the end of the day, the city is going to approve this, not us. So that's what I want to say. But it's a beautiful building, though. It sure is. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilda. Becky?
When is this project scheduled to be started? And that's question number one, Andrew. What is the date that they're estimated that they're going to complete it or start it? And is this private property, right? And they have to go through the process with the city in order to get their permits, etc. Where do we stand with all of that? Do you know?
So Becky, no. So it's early. It's early in the process. They're in site plan. There's absolutely no target date for groundbreaking, and there was no date for possible completion. Brookfield owns this land. They own them all. So this is Brookfield commercial, converting commercial into retail, and in my view personally, creating non-revenue space into revenue space. Not the worst idea ever in concept. I'm certainly happy to yield that, but they get around the parking issue because the property is huge, and there's parking spaces down by Ashley Furniture and up by the American Tire, the tire company, which is not going to have their lease renewed and is going to become another more popular eatery in a few years. That's what I've been told from the mall. So my view from city planning is how many parking spots exist in totality on all of the parcels of the mall, and that's how they get away with this. David Lasher hit it perfectly. They'll tell you that the little 3.5 foot walkway, which is not lit, between the theater and the Buffalo Wild Wings is enough to entice everyone who would park here to go park, in the parking structure. The fact is, it's just not gonna, it's not gonna happen. And we all know there's a chasm of difference between what city code is and what the city will allow and what really works in the real world in terms of parking. Just look across the street at Super King. They have enough parking. They have an upstairs parking structure and no one uses it. That shopping center is a mess 7 days a week. So there's, I urge, certainly, have the builder out. My sense is they don't want to. They don't want to come out. They don't want to make this any bigger an issue that, than it was with Northridge West. We made them come out 3 different times. But I want to reject the, Hilda, I love you. But if there's anything that I've learned, man, you got a voice, you better use it. The city, if we don't, then the city will do whatever they want and they'll railroad whatever project they want. But, it's our my view, our responsibility to speak up and try to affect whatever change in our neighborhood we think is for the betterment of our neighborhood. We're doing it about at least so every day. With it's the same thing. It's the same thing with the Home Depot project going in Granada Hills on Devonshire, which I don't know if you guys know about, but should be on your radar. Et cetera, et cetera. So, for anyone who's really, hung up about this particular project or, want more information, look, pass a letter or send a message that says, look, just for now, the way we see it, we don't like it. We want change. We want particular changes. We think changes are necessary. And we're always open to changing our position. Don't need to be set in stone. But that's the request. So Becky, hope I answered your questions.
Okay. Do they have any other developments in CD12? I mean, other than that,
no, but Brookfield has a 62-story apartment building going in on Figueroa in downtown.
Thank you, Becky. Glenn?
Okay, so I have various comments. So first of all, I'm always sympathetic to the impact that any project would have on the surrounding single-family residential neighborhoods, in this case, to the north side of Plummer Street. So I want to say that as a caveat. Number two, this project is 1/4 mile from the easterly boundary of the Chatsworth Neighborhood Council. I haven't heard that Chatsworth Neighborhood Council had considered this. This project boundary is 1/2 mile to the north of the Northridge South Neighborhood Council. I haven't heard that they have had any discussion regarding this. This project is 1.5 miles from the westerly boundary of the Northridge East Neighborhood Council. And I can tell you as president of the Northridge East Neighborhood Council, nobody has contacted me from either the applicant or the representative or the appellants requesting us to consider this. This project is more than 2 miles from the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council boundary at the 118 freeway. So you have 3 other neighborhood councils besides Northridge West, where this is located, that are closer to this project than Porter Ranch. And it seems to me that if any of them are consider it, it ought to be maybe the ones that are 1/4 mile away or 1/2 mile away, and have that conversation. Just throwing that out there. I personally think, I mean, I understand that Northridge West did consider this, but I just want to point out to you that the approval letter from the case, from planning department was issued on February 9th. Northridge West did not have a special meeting regarding the project until February 23rd, a special meeting, by the way, which means it's a date and time, a date that people are not expecting the neighborhood council to be considering at its regular meeting, a project of such importance. And that was the night before the deadline to appeal the determination letter, which, Andrew, thank you for your involvement and your wife's involvement in filing an appeal so that the conversation could continue. I also just want to point out that Brookfield is headquartered in Chicago, Illinois. So I don't think that they, they're in a mindset that probably doesn't think too much about how tall buildings are. Just point that out. I would also point out that the representative of Brookfield, oh, first of all, I'm wondering aloud, I don't know this, but I'm wondering if Brookfield maybe purchased the Northridge Fashion Center because they saw this opportunity for, I mean, I don't know how many tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars this project is worth to them, but I'm wondering if that's why they bought the Northridge Fashion Center, because they saw this opportunity to use the existing underlying zoning with minimal approvals necessary in order to be able to put a project in here. I want to point out that the representative for this project is Burns and Brochard, is a public relations lobbying firm. I think if you check the Ethics Commission, you might want to find out how many different special interests that this lobbying firm represents. That might be, I haven't done it, but I'm just throwing that out there that folks may want to see, because they are a lobbying firm. And then lastly, I just want to comment that, Councilmember Lee had a conversations with councils a few months ago. The topic was the housing element. And we were all told that the city needs to come up with 250,000, give or take, housing units throughout the city. You divide that by 15, as the city's apt to do, that's 16,000 for Council District 12. That's a lot of units that are going to have to be spread out there. And I don't know, I mean, I'm not thrilled about a 6-story parking structure or 5-story anything cross the street from single family residential. But I think that I'd rather have something in an area that's already paved over and already in proximity to everything that the mall has, than trying to have closer impacts in some of our single family residential neighborhoods, or even some of our 2- and 3-story apartment areas, which is what's happening in other parts of the city. So I'll just leave it at that. Just thoughts for you all to consider. I would say that if you take any action, one more thought. I don't think this was properly agendized. There is no case number on your agenda, and there is no street address on your agenda. I realize it's in your documentation that you link from the website, to the website, but agendas are important. It's important to have the information listed on the agenda, just as if you were having your own case within your own neighborhood council boundaries. I hope whatever action you take is with the full blessing of the Northridge West Neighborhood Council. I understand, that, they took an action and you're proposing to take an action that's not inconsistent with that. It's very important working with our neighboring neighborhood councils to respect their positions. Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Andrew, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, Glenn, just real quick, and to the board. Glenn, Chatsworth will be taking up this issue at their next meeting. Northridge South, in several years of advocacy for Aliso and reaching out to Northridge South, I've never once communicated with a single rep. So, that's on my list. And as for you, I'm coming. Just note, board, the only 2 appellants are my wife and I, Jennifer and I. So all of the legwork is down to 2 people, 2 humans, trying to add this to an otherwise busy, calendar. So, Glenn, in the next month, you'll hear from me soon. And PRNC board members, just know that it is my intention to make the rounds. The petition was signed heavily by Reseda and other neighboring communities to the south. I will go to every neighborhood council that I can get agendized, because their stakeholders are all affected by this. Thank you.
Thank you. David Lasher.
And I apologize for second bite at the apple. I don't support that, and I apologize for it. So thanks for the indulgence. I just wanted to point out lastly that there are a lot of vacant properties and other properties that are more suitable for this toward DeSoto and Chatsworth. There's some fields there and empty warehouses. I don't know why they put this right here when there are other things. And then to the point on the council member aspect of this, think Mr. Weezer and Mr. Engler had issues with developers, as I recall. So I don't know how much they're going to really be trying to fight this or whatnot. And as far as the housing goes, we need housing. We don't need housing at the same time, because all this housing will just create density, creates more traffic, and more people will come here from Indiana and all over the country because of the weather and everything else. And if you build it, they will come. And that is not the spot to put this thing on.
Thank you, David. Brandy?
So we don't have a letter in front of us. We have an issue. So we'd still have to come back for another meeting to approve any letter. So even if we didn't agendize this in the way that we would absolutely need to, at least we'll have another bite should we write a letter. And I think maybe we might want to have people on different sides write different versions of the letter, and then we can consider explicit versions to look at as a whole. I do think we can let the closer NCs kind of lead the way, but just as we worked with our neighboring councils for Aliso, they might want to work with us in whatever decision they go forward with. So we should be working with the neighboring, but I don't think that this doesn't impact our community. It's still, I mean, how many of us go to the mall? How many of us, as David has said, have family or ourselves have worked at the mall, and we all do our now I blanked on it. We do events at the mall. So it is impacting our community clearly. And I do think we should work with the other NCs on it. And also the increase in homeless housing was not because of unions, but I do think we should all consider writing letters and then take another vote maybe next month on the different letters.
So Brandy, let me get this straight. You're saying that let's move forward and make the motion on this today, and then we have to come back with letters and discuss the letters to write?
Yeah, it's up to you if you want to make a specific motion to write a specific position letter or to vote or poll what people feel of this issue. But I think if we all have people who care about it writing different versions of the letter, then we can look at, one that's in favor of it and one that's against it and one that's saying we just want to tweak it, and whatever the different positions are, people who are really passionate about it can come back with options to look at. That would be my suggestion.
All right, here's a better question to the board. Is anyone ready to write a letter?
No.
Yes.
You would write a letter. Anybody else would write a letter? Because you're saying multiple letters. I just want to see who would actually write letters for us to go over at the next meeting, or go, next special meeting or meeting or whichever. Jason, you have a comment?
Yeah, this is a land use matter, right? So you're the chair of the land use committee. So typically, you would raise the questions with the city that we discussed today and hold a land use committee meeting. You have your committee established already, so you could work on a letter in the committee, and the committee could put the letter forward and do that work at the committee level.
Well, my same question will arise. Are we voting on this today for us to work on a letter to present at next meeting? Or are we just?
What I would recommend is taking the comments that you heard today back to the committee and coming up with a recommendation and a letter from the committee and if you need a special meeting or whatever for the next time. But I think this needs to be more finalized in a committee for land use. That's what I would recommend.
Thank you, Jason. Colin, are you here?
I am.
I would like to hear your side. What what information you know in your commentary.
Honestly, I'm going to take a big pass on this one. I saw it on the agenda, but our planning deputy is out of the office on vacation right now. So, Dan Rosales, I'm sure, is on top of all of this. I think it was said earlier that this is apparently in the very early stages. So planning is well outside of my wheelhouse. So I don't want to, you know, I think Dan would be the better person to speak to when he gets back into town.
Good politicking, Colin.
Well, I mean, I don't know what what is allowed by right, what is,
You're fine.
it's just, planning
You're
is
fine.
not, it's not something I do.
I mean it legit. Good politicking.
It sounds like a determination letter has already been issued. So it sounds a little further along in the process. So you got to get a look at that letter and work with city planning and get answers to the questions that were raised, and then come up with a letter.
So Jason, I'll jump in real quick. So the project was supposed to be heard last Thursday, May 5th. At the commission meeting, they pushed all of the project agenda items out to the June meeting. So we're waiting on a date. It could be first week of June. We're just not sure yet in terms of next meeting.
Yeah. And it's probably during a work day, 10 a.m. on a Tuesday or something, right?
4:30 on a Thursday.
Yeah. So, nobody will show up. So, that's how it goes. It's all right.
Well, they only had 3 commissioners at the last meeting, I think, out of 7.
Thank you, Andrew. And Jason, Becky?
Yeah, Andrew, can you let us know when that meeting is? So maybe some of us might want to attend and educate ourselves a little bit more on the planning of all of this.
I would be happy to, Becky. If I remember from the last meeting, I got about a week's warning. So I will, as soon as I get the email for the hearing date, I will forward that on to you guys.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank you, Becky. David Balin?
Yep. Hey, Colin, David Balin here. You know as well as I do, and everybody that's on this meeting, nothing happens in CD12 unless the council member gives it the blessings. So do you know what John's position was, Councilman John Lee's position?
I don't. That's what I'm saying, David. I don't. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't really know much about this project. It was, news to me when I saw it on the agenda. I've been out of town as well. Just got back last night. So I was going over the agenda today. But again, Dan Rosales, our planner, is out of town now too. So I just don't have any, I'm sorry I can't be more helpful on this, but I can't.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin. I have an attendee comment. It's from John and Michelle Hales. Floor is yours.
Wow, thank you so much.
Thank
You guys can take a breath now while I talk, okay? Listen, I absolutely sincerely appreciate this. My wife and I have been through almost 300 Zoom meetings with neighborhood councils across Los Angeles. On this particular one, we were actually at Northridge West when they made the presentation, when the project manager gave the details on this, and that struck home. Now, why did it strike home? 5 feet from my property is a 61 unit, 3-story townhomes, market value, et cetera, and another 61 are supposed to go in the next 6 months. Was I able to get anything done? Oh, and by the way, it's built right next door to a school that has 400 kids. It got approved. The project got signed off. Englander. And Englander, I think he's going to be celebrating his birthday pretty soon. Almost a year in prison. Heritage but that was Heritage Group. The point I'm trying to make is that you folks are in the spot. You're right next door. I'm a board member for Northridge South. I almost resent his comment that he's never heard anything from us because I was at that meeting, but I don't. I understand he's passionate about this. I would like to formally suggest to him that I will send a request. We just had our meeting 2 days ago to plan for our next meeting. I'll make sure that he gets on that one. And what I'd like to do is suggest to you folks that when this is signed off by John Lee, as he did in my project in my back property, and denied it all the way through, but he signed off on it. This may have already been approved. Planning is not our friend. But what I'd like to suggest is, number one, what can you do right now? It's right in front of your face. Get on there and sign that petition. The more people sign on there, the more that's going to catch John Lee and everybody else down in the city's attention, that there's thousands of people that are fighting this. Yes, it's private property, but it's across the street from residents. My point to you folks is you have a way to make it affect right now by signing there, but plan it, get those people in to make the presentation. And what I heard from them at those meetings, it's going to make your blood boil. I would like to suggest that as soon as you all sign off, you go and sign in on that. I mean, 651, I think it is now, 651 signatures, that doesn't cover it. But I want to tell him that we are here. We're going to join arm in arm with the other neighborhood councils, and we'll shut this down. John Lee may not like it. And as you well know, he doesn't visit and talk to stakeholders. He'll talk to the board members. But this is something that he really is going to avoid being asked that question. He's got 17 people working for him, and it is something that they will say no and ignore your request.
Carpenters Union.
Now, last but not least, the Carpenters Union. I absolutely agree with him. That project behind, they were playing music till 10 o'clock at night. These people weren't unionized. So it's going to happen again because developers look to maximize their dollar investment. I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting passionate about this, but waiting for so long to talk, I sincerely appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Gabe, real quick, if I may, do you have the contact information for John and Michelle?
No, I don't.
All right,
I'll put it in the Q&A.
great. Thank you, John. Let's do coffee.
Thank you. Any other further comments or questions? What does the board want to do on this action item?
I like the committee idea.
Thank you, Brandy. Any other comments?
Whose motion is it?
It's my motion,
Okay.
which
Well,
is same as a land use. So all the way around, it's me.
What do you,
And
what
that's
are
why
your
I've opened.
thoughts on it?
Sorry?
What are your thoughts on it?
I like the land use motion. I mean, land use to write the letter and discuss it. But I think we should probably give some kind of approval for land use to work on it. But I'm not sure where the board stands, obviously, for no support or support of the letter. Should we can call a vote for land use to write a letter and no support and bring it to the board for the board to approve the letter? With something like that, is the board comfortable with?
You wouldn't need to vote on that. I mean, this automatically goes to land use, right?
Right.
That pretty much is just how we operate. We don't really need to take a vote on that. I mean, it goes to land use. You know, it gets referred to committee. That's how these things work. We would be tabling it and referring it to land use for a recommendation, right?
Thank you. Becky?
Yeah, I'd like to hear all sides of the story so that we are a little more educated on it. I'm not in favor of a 5-story building on that corner. We do need housing. We have people sleeping on streets, and Porter Ranch, of all places on earth, who has developed and developed and developed and continuing to develop, to tell other people how they should develop. I don't know about that. Without land use really looking into it and hearing all sides of the story, that's what I'd like to see happen before we do anything. And like Andrew said, we have time. And I like the idea to sign the petitions to get those out there. But I think that we should have a land use meeting, and we should kind of percolate on this a little bit more than 40 minutes here at our meeting. I think it's really an important issue.
Thank you. Land use could have a meeting, definitely. Remember, only land use members can speak. Everyone else will be welcome, but other board members will not be able to speak on behalf of the topic.
Well, you could do a special meeting for it. Then everybody could be there and everybody could speak.
Under land use?
Yeah.
It'd have to be a joint meeting with another group.
A joint, yeah. There's a way to structure the meeting so everyone can
You
go.
could just do a special meeting for that.
Yeah.
But can I ask a question to Andrew real quick?
Go ahead, Jason.
So Andrew, did the developer come out to Northridge West? You said 3 times, right? Is there a representative? Do you think we'll be able to get a representative to come if we call a special meeting? And have you talked to city planning at all about this case file? That's to Andrew.
Yeah, so truth be told, the representative is the one who came out, went from Bouchard, and who met with us. Yeah, who met with us. Do I think they'll come out? To be completely honest with you, I think it's a coin toss. If they feel like they're the big bad boys with all the money and they can just ram this through, then they have no incentive to come out and talk to you guys or any of the other councils. They were unwilling to sit back down with me and try to come up with some kind of compromise. We asked them about doing a broader town hall. That was an issue that Northridge West brought up. They didn't. So I don't know.
Well, we need to invite them nonetheless. You know, we need to at least give them the opportunity to come out, and we haven't done that yet.
Sure. So they came out. I mean, they came out and presented to Northridge West land use, and then they came back and presented to the whole board. So they've been out. I mean, Northridge West we put them through the ringer, but the presentation was the same. They were unwilling to make any accommodations, really. That was, I think, ultimately the board's feeling and why they voted unanimously to send a letter to planning, not supporting. And if you want to read the letter in this meeting's agenda materials, in my slide PDF is a link to the whole letter from Northridge West. So you can read that or go to their website to read it.
Thank you. David Balin?
Yeah, this is 2 points. One, if we do a land use, absolutely invite the builder to come out or the representatives to come out, and then we'd be able to at least hear their position and their ideology of where they feel that how this really fits within the community. Andrew, do you have is your meeting recorded that we can go on and look and listen to what they had to offer?
David, I believe both the committee and the general board meetings are both recorded and should be posted.
Okay, I'll look into it. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Becky, you have another question?
Oh, no, I don't. Sorry.
Any other further questions from anyone? All right, so let's defer this to land use then. So you should be hearing from land use regarding a meeting coming up soon. Fair enough?
Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you. Let's move on to item number 18. Jason? Jason, you here?
Sorry about that.
No problem.
No,
We're not on 19? We're on 18 still?
We're at 18 now.
Oh.
Is that the Caltrans thing?
Yeah.
18 is the Caltrans, yes. Or the 118 Caltrans.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you keeping that on there, but there hasn't been too much going on. Has anybody spoken to Valadares' office on the board the last month or two? No?
No.
Okay. No, I appreciate you keeping that on the agenda, but yeah. I don't know what better it looks over there. It's hard to distinguish. How's it going with you, Voss, on the 118 freeway issue with the HOA and everything else?
As far as I'm concerned, I don't have any issue now, but I have not heard from the HOA anything on that.
Okay, gotcha.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, we're good. Gabriel, if you want to.
Sounds good.
Next item or what?
Now, next item is item number 19, updates from board members and committees.
Oh, wow.
Any updates from any board members about any committees?
Yes, I have.
Boss, floor is yours.
Okay, I want to let all the board members know that there are things going on between Dunn and Bonk. Bonk is conducting meetings on the code of conduct. They have conducted 2 meetings. Second was the last one on 10th of this month. And they are updating the policy, and that is not favorable to the NCs, and many of the board members had raised the question at this meeting. The first first reaction was from the board of members from different neighborhood council that city council members do not have any code of conduct. So why they are putting the code of conduct on the neighborhood council board members? The second thing was that they have a work policy for the city employees, and they are applying them to the board member, NC board member, and the reaction from the, reaction from the board member was that this work policy is meant for the city employees, and they are appointed one, but we are elected volunteers. It should not be applied on us because we are not the workers or the paid employees. And the third one was that in this policy, they are giving or recommending dictatorial powers to the Dunn GM. They can remove any member or do anything if there is an allegation. There was a strong reaction to that one. And they said that first, it should not be the absolute authority given to the GM. It should be for the neighborhood council to remove or censure a board member and not the Dunn. And then they have noted all these objections, and they are going to have another meeting, which was not in the schedule. So they are going to consider the draft now, making the draft and scheduling another meeting. And they will let us know the date when it is going to be scheduled. So that will be the revised draft in that one with the amended or whatever changes they can make, because most of the thing they admitted was that wording was there. They are going to change the wording in this policy. So we don't know at this time how it is going to be, but mostly we think that they are taking away the powers from the NC board member and giving to the Dunn, and that is not good. So I am waiting for their next meeting information. So when I receive it, I will let you know. And if any other board members want to attend, they are most welcome. And I think that should be the final meeting on the code of conduct. This is a very important topic and subject, and neighborhood councils are very much affected with this one. So I would like the other board members also to attend the next meeting when it is scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you, boss.
Welcome.
Any other board members or committee comments? Becky, you're raising your hand?
Yeah, I noticed that there's some activity going on Wilbur and Rinaldi on that southeast corner there, the lot. Do you have, being land use, do you have any idea where they are in constructing and what they're going to do there?
Last I spoke to them a few months back, they're working on one last permit. I have not spoken to them recently, but I could contact them.
Because it looks like they've sort of cleared the property and they have some dirt machines there.
Yeah,
so.
the clearing the property, I know we requested from them about 3 months ago to clear the brush. So I believe they just followed what we told them to clear the property, clean the brush. And I will contact them, see if there's any updates on the project.
Okay, and I would just, my final statement, I want to thank everyone for their participation with Solid. The pancake breakfast, huge success, one of the largest turnouts they've ever had. And it was just very nice to see, you know, Hilda there and some of our friends. It was a really great morning, and thanks everyone for all of your support. I think Hilda sold the most tickets.
I did.
She should get an award.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you so
okay.
much.
It's all good. It's for our community. Why not?
Thank you. Any other statements, comments?
I just want to ask one thing. It is not the update or anything, but just a question we had discussed. Jason was on this expenses and other thing. I have a quick question. In the last meeting, when most of the board members had refused, and we had entertained one NPG request from the LAPD that was for $5,000. So I was not sure at that time. I chaired that meeting, and I was not sure how much fund we have, and closing is coming, how much will you need. So my question is, can we add it in the next month's motion agenda, that if we can pay another $2,000 as they had asked for $5,000? I leave it up to the board and Jason and Gabriel to consider it. Thank you.
Is this for the LAPD you're talking about?
LAPD, we had recommended 3,000 out of 5,000 because
Right.
I was not sure about the budget.
I
So
think
now
it
since we
was
have,
4,000. Let me see what the payment.
I think it was 5,000.
The payment that Gabriel, whatever you sent me, I processed the.
I approved for $3,000. The board approved for $3,000.
Oh yeah, it is 3. Okay. I see.
Yeah, so we need to, if we have the fund, I will recommend if we can pay them $2,000 more. Thank you.
Okay, you could just send me a motion, Voss,
Okay,
and I
I
can
will.
add it to Joan,
I
whatever
will.
you like.
Okay, thank you.
David Balin?
Yes, Gabriel, if you have no objections, I would like to share what's going on in the community this coming Friday night.
Go ahead.
So this Friday night, the Renaissance community, we're having our second Food Truck Friday. So if you guys have nothing to do with your friends, you'd be more than happy. You're more than happy to be my guest. I'm sure Gabriel would let you in the community as well. And but no, from 4 to 8, we're having Food Truck Friday, and it just gets a bunch of the community members. You know, up here at the Renaissance, we have 412 homeowners. It's just an opportunity for us to get together, break bread, and have some fun. From 4 to 8, we have a couple trucks. We have a taco truck that's showing up. We have the Bollywood truck, so that's Indian food. There's another truck, and then I think we also have the Kona Ice truck that's coming for dessert. But if you have nothing better to do and you want to meet some great people, and it's a really good opportunity just to say hello, you're more than welcome to just text me, and I'll get you in the community, and you can come and say hello to our community members. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And I don't see any more hands up. We can move on to item number 20. Next meeting will be on June 8th, and you should be hearing about a land use meeting prior to that. I do have a hand up. Glenn Bailey. The floor is yours.
All right, this is a little bit of our order, and I apologize. So there's a couple of us who are participating or have participated with the city clerk's neighborhood council election work group 2023. So if you want to agendize that for a future meeting, happy to give you an update on that. And then also they've reinstituted the hybrid / in-person work group through Bonk and done. That's just getting started. Brian Allen is on that as well. So we could, if you want to have an update on those, one just finishing up and one just starting up. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Jason?
I was just gonna say, I don't know if you're gonna have a land use meeting, but it would be nice to have a meeting, like a special meeting, I think, because like the whole board has interest, I think, in the project. And you know, however you work it, but I think at some point it would be good to maybe.
I might make it as a land use meeting, but open to the whole board. So a special board meeting with a land use, like Becky was suggesting. So I got to figure out the exact wording on it. So we might call it a special meeting, and you might get dates from me to choose from. So I'll keep you posted. And with no further objections, we can call the meeting at 9:54 p.m.
You got a couple hands that just popped up. I don't know if you wanna,
It did?
get Jeff and John.
All right, I'll open it up real quick. John, floor is yours.
Nope, not a problem. I just want to make a friendly suggestion. Maybe get all the neighborhood councils in the area to do a town hall on this project. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Jeff? Jeff, floor is yours.
This isn't Jeff, this is Vicky. I don't know how it got under Jeff.
Oh, it said Jeff Hammond.
Oh, I don't know, maybe his, I don't know how ours crossed. But in Chatsworth, when we do all of our committee meetings, we make them joint board and outreach committee or beautification, which allows the committee to have their meeting, but yet any board members can also participate if they're joint board and committee meetings. So just a suggestion, maybe all of your committee meetings should be joint board and committee. That way the whole board can participate in the committee meeting.
They can. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's probably what we will do. With no further objection, let's call the meeting at 9:56 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Keep
night,
up
everyone.
good thoughts to the people of Laguna and the Gale tonight with all the fires.
Yeah.
Thank you.